Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast, brought to you by the Adventure Archive. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Hunter.
And today we are going to be going over Into the Odd Remastered, rules light, flavor heavy role playing game of industrial horror and cosmic strangeness. Yeah, you will understand that little upturn in the speech as we get into it later. Yeah. But I am very excited to go over this. It's interesting. We've been talking about it for a little while about wanting to go over this. First of all, Chris McDowall stuff is really awesome. I do have Electric Bastion Land like right there off screen,
which is
fantastic. And with graphic design and art from Johan Nohr. I mean, who fucking wouldn't, you know? Exactly. Yeah. So prior to that, so what I'm trying to do now, and I'll probably edit this out, is to stop saying and while trying to stop saying it, I said it 3 times in the last 10 seconds. So amazing. Yeah, it's great. While trying to avoid it, I said it as an avoidance. So
funny.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard not to say it.
I mean, it's a habit. You're just gonna have to. It'll be. You know?
Well, I have a post-it note right here that says that says no to you, but it says to me. And I actually need to just stick it to my mic. I need to just stick it directly. Forehead. So yeah, so then I can just not see it. I'll stick it to my mic. There you go. You'll see it. I just won't. Anyway, how are you doing, Hunter? I know we missed last week because you were away.
Yeah, so I'm doing really well. We had I did too. Last week, my girlfriend bought me tickets to like a festival in Vegas, and she paid for my hotel and my flight and everything. And we honestly forgot about it until like the week before because we just hadn't talked about it, and I didn't have my tickets. So last week I went to Vegas, and I just, I got really sick on my way back. It was not COVID, shout out, but I think just like the dry air, and so I've been in bed until yesterday. And now I'm here, so I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
You're good. I'm, chilling, just trying to get some games in, trying to figure all that stuff out, and then trying to get some more episodes out. We currently, as of right now, on November 20th, I think, we have 3 episodes of the podcast up, mostly edited. It exists. It is on Stitcher. It is on...
And I'm on none of them, so...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're not on till the following week. Yeah. No, so you're actually interviewed in the 3rd episode, though. As a prequel into Lancer. That's when we announced.
Oh, that's right. I came in after you talked about Troika.
Yeah, so you were one of my interviews, and then we announced on that episode that you'd be coming on to be a guest host, and then we did Lancer.
I am bummed I didn't get to do Troika with you because, I like a lot of things about Troika, and I don't like certain things about Troika, so it would have been fun.
I like a lot of things about Troika too. If I was going to do Troika, I would just do a very different kind of setting. Yeah,
I would do different combat.
I'm curious with Troika specifically. I'm curious how the stack would go, the whole initiative stack situation.
I only really like the initiative stack. It's very messy. So
I don't necessarily think that it's messy, and I don't even necessarily think that it's arduous. I just think it's gimmicky a little, and I feel like I would get over it super fast. You know what I mean? So cards instead of chips makes sense.
Cards instead of chips. So
yeah. So. So talking about that can be a nice transition. We can bring up a little bit of Troika. So we are going to do one of the things we do just about every week. I think we've done it just about every week because we are obsessed with wasting money on Kickstarter here. We are going to kickstart the podcast. Yeah. And we might as well switch to let's go over a Troika game book. Dallin and Younggardi, a Troika solo gamebook, is an epic choose-your-path gamebook inspired by fighting fantasy using the mechanics and setting of Troika. Now, this is, first of all, it's awesome. Definitely been getting in a lot of gamebooks lately, especially specifically because of Source of Victory. He's really been going hard on gamebooks lately. We can drop Source in the chat, but if you go to sourceofvictory.com, you can find a lot of his gamebooks. he has done a lot of really awesome game books for younger adventurers, especially younger female adventurers, which is cool. There's actually this lady that I work with who has a daughter who's I think 10 or 11, and I asked her, like, do you, and for those that don't know, game books, you're not allowed to call them choose your own adventure. I think that's a copywritten phrase. So a game book is basically a choose your own adventure thing. And I asked her, hey, do you like, does she like choose your own adventure books? Her daughter loves to read. And she's like, yeah, she actually does, but they're all written for boys, so she doesn't read them. And I was like, whoa, do I have some books for you? And I actually sent her, like, I bought and gave her 2 of Circe's game books that are written for like younger audiences, and specifically, like I said, for kind of a younger female audience, Trial of the Wolf Girls and
oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and the Everstar Sisterhood. And she messaged me and said during Trial of the Wolf Girls, when she finished it, she came out and howled and was just like, I beat it with, I did the extra trial and everything and stuff. And I texted it to Circe, and it was just like, it was a really cool moment, because he's like, that's literally why I write these books. So he's also done the Coiled Crown, which is for an older audience. So very excited for that. Oh, dude, Coiled Crown is sick. You definitely have to check that out. It's on his website. So anyway, this is a choose your path game book written by Chris Bissett, who does Loot the Room, and he's also the guy that did like The Wretched and like the whole Wretched and Alone system, the whole concept of like it's a solo game book, but then there's a Jenga tower that you do things with. He did that. He's written a lot of other really good books. He wrote, this is actually a Chris Bissett book. Oh, we've yeah, this right here. I think we went over this last time, but this is Chris Bissett doing Treasures of the Troll King.
Really cool book.
God, yeah. And it's art from Johan Nohr. I think Chris Bissett was talking in the Merkborg Discord, and Johan Nohr was just like, hey, why don't I do the art for it? I think we talked about this before, because I do remember going over the poster and stuff. So that's Chris Bissett. He's awesome. I like a lot of his stuff. So this is a solo game book that uses the Troika mechanics and setting called Down in Young Guardy. It's really interesting. I backed it at a physical tier. So mine is £20, which is $27 plus shipping. It's whatever. But it looks really interesting. Young Guardy, he really pulled a piece out of the standard book. Gives you 66 settings, which is only like 30 backgrounds, and there's only like 30 backgrounds, but he pulled a really cool piece out of it to do this. And actually he was like, I wasn't planning to do backgrounds, but if you backed it, here's some free backgrounds too. But it looks really interesting. He says it's a fighting fantasy retro clone, and it's backed at a high enough tier that I believe there's going to be an alt cover done. Yeah, these if you can't see them on the podcast, I'm trying to be better about that, but there is an artist who does it's Gontijo. He's a Brazilian designer who does these really interesting kind of very graphic designy, right? Yeah, really graphic designy covers. So he's going to end up doing an alt cover for this book, which is really cool. So I'm probably gonna have to get both. I'll probably just get the other one. And then I did the add-on too. So it's really cool. The nice transition with Troika and everything to get into that. But I really like Chris Bissett, and this is Troika and Chris Bissett and a game book. So I'm really curious to see how that works out. One of the other I
really like in this, it's a very small little thing. I really like the set of bookmark character sheets that you get. Like, I like that idea. Like, if you're doing essentially a choose your own adventure, like you have your little bookmark that is your character sheet. That's fucking clever. I just backed this actually. So
yeah. It looks really cool. I'm really excited for it. Like I said, cool. I like a lot of Chris Bissett stuff. It's really interesting. And just a quick read through of what it says. It says, down in Young Guardy, they do things differently. They respect the law. Every day there is a queue outside the courts to get a seat to see the latest up and coming barrister defend his case with 3 feet of steel. The people follow the careers of their favorite solicitors, watch all their cases, collect their portraits, and sneak into court after hours to dab the patches of blood on white handkerchiefs, all the better to be closer to their hero. In Young Guardy, they love the law. And on the cover, it is these like robotic like lawyer and judge. So yeah, it looks really interesting. I'm excited for it. It's pretty cool. So that is the first thing we're going over on Kickstart the Stream this week. I'm going to go back to our bigger window and actually go over a physical reward that I got that I was very, very excited for. Yeah. And I'm less excited now. So, but I backed Brinkwood, the Blood of Tyrants. It looks really cool. It's forged in the dark. And I would really like to do this on the podcast at some point, read through this. It's really interesting because Forged in the Dark is a game that I don't really have a ton of experience with. And this uses basically like the OGL or the SRD or whatever. So you don't need the Forged in the Dark books to do that. But cool. basically vampires exist and they live in this kind of like bourgeois society. There's vampires and peasants. And your job is to mask up, spill blood, and drink the rich. So you are basically, it is a, you're leading rebellions against these vampires.
Thematically, it's very in your corner. So
of course, that's why I backed it. Exactly. And what's interesting is I actually backed a number of different of these like revolutionary books, kind of. There's another one. I can't remember what it's called. It's called like, I think maybe Hammer and Stake instead of Hammer and Sickle. It's another vampire uprising one that looks really neat. The problem I have with this is the book looks beautiful, right? The cover art is great, but I backed this book to get a physical tier with the full color interior. And if you see, it's black and white inside. So
black and white inside. That is definitely not a full color interior.
It is definitely not a full color interior. And that is in the
page you showed me originally. So
no, like, all of the art is it's completely black and white. So with the tiers, they offered a physical tier, but then you'd get POD codes, so you could get hardback or softback, black and white or full color on DriveThruRPG. But I backed the reward for them to send me a book, and it's supposed to be full color. So I'm curious. I haven't heard back. I just got it. I posted a comment to see, like, just asking, hey, what's up? I haven't heard back yet. We'll see. Some of the parts that I'm not, I have gone through the PDF. It looks really interesting. But the physical stuff, like I said, is what's bugging me. They did a map, but it just doesn't look good.
I don't like the blacked out areas on the side. Like, just fit the map to the page. Like, why would you do that?
I know, right? And not only that, like, I wouldn't even mind if there's black on the side if it was all the way around, but it's not. So for those that can't see, I'm showing a map.
Oh, yeah.
But it's in the middle. So on each side, there's maybe like 2 inches of black, but the top and bottom go directly to the map. So it's not a border around the map. It's just on the sides, and it just looks, it's not good. And then
it really is actually not. So
yeah. Check us out on twitch.tv/The Adventure Archive, and you can check the VODs here or on our YouTube, youtube.com/The Adventure Archive to check those out. The other part that I got so far with the physical rewards is this soft cover art book. But even just when you first pick it up, you can see whoever they got it printed by, it's not printed well. Again, you guys can't see this, but if you just hold it closed, from like the middle of the page, from the middle of the book back, it's not in line. The pages aren't level at the top. It's like splayed out because it's not stapled properly together in the middle. And then there's parts of like the art in here where, there's icons for these masks that are like part of character creation. And you can tell that they were smaller and they were blown up, and it's just all pixelated. This whole page is just pixelated art in this quote unquote art book. And then, if you look at the next page, they have this art, but they do this weird, like jaggedy white outline. It's hard to describe without looking at it. You definitely have to check out the VOD to see what it is, but it just looks really bad. I can't really describe it any other way. It just looks bad.
I mean, so if you're listening podcast land, my standards for stuff are so much lower than Ryan usually. And even I'm like, yeah, this is pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Like,
and then, yeah.
But I didn't pay for it, so.
No, yeah, I paid for it. And then, but I mean, the parts that are good are the portrait art, which is beautiful. I'm showing some of those right now.
It's so good. That portrait is so good.
Yeah. So if they would have just done full page pictures, and then also just randomly, none of the pages in the book are white. All the ones that have, a piece of art that they put on the page is this, kind of like wood, metal, like dark texture and stuff. And then randomly in the very back of the book is just one random blank white page. It just is not. And even the logo and stuff on the front of the book is pixelated. So it's just not well done. The art book is definitely not.
Honestly, that alone is pretty bad, you know?
Yeah, it's just not well done. And of all of the art in here, the only ones that really stand out, I mean, there's some good art in here, but the layout of the book does, again, this really weird like white splatter. Like I could teach. I'm not trying to be super insulting. I mean, it's just really poorly done. I think whoever laid this book out didn't have very high standards for how it was supposed to look. But anyway, those are, I mean, you back for, the extra physical rewards. You hope the physical rewards are really good. At the end of the day, you are an investor. You didn't purchase something. You get what you get. And what I really wanted was the main book, which is really nice. The rule set, I've read through the PDF. Like I said, it looks really neat. It's not full color though, so that's also disappointing. So we'll see what happens, and we'll go through that at some point. But that is the physical rewards I've received. I feel like I've received some other physical rewards lately, but I'm not going to dig into it. A couple other projects I want to talk about. Cthulhu Hack. I know that last time we were on, let me go back to the full screen here. I really ripped into Cthulhu Hack for being, I don't think it's wrong to say probably the most convoluted, poorly tiered Kickstarter I've ever seen. And I
remember that. Yeah. I was blanking for a second. I was like, what did we say about this one? But yes, I totally remember that. They have this very backwards mentality for like they didn't have like a super special digital tier for people who don't want anything physical or don't want to pay for shipping. Right. Yeah.
No, it was really poorly done. And a lot of comments say the same thing, that they've never seen one as convoluted, complicated, and unnecessary as this.
It was really complicated.
It was unnecessary. So as in they have these weird names for their additional content, like PDF enhancement goals, but you're not enhancing the PDF. It's non-core book bonus PDF content. So it makes no sense to call it that. But basically, they also have tiers where you get, for like $25 or whatever, you get access to a tier. And also for $25, you get access to the same tier, but with add-ons, which is completely unnecessary. Just get rid of the one that doesn't have it if no one wants it. They're being like stingy with the add-ons. It doesn't make sense. Why don't you have add-ons for every tier? Because you can always just, especially for digital add-ons, you're just losing money.
Yeah, they're just saying no to money. Like they're literally just saying no to money. They're like, no.
And there's a part 2. Yeah. So there's a part 2 where it's just like you can't get those PDF enhancement goals at a PDF level tier. If you just get the book at PDF, you don't get any of the PDF stuff, which makes no sense. And then they said in their FAQ, you could just get a physical reward and just choose not to receive your physical reward. So back at the cost to get a physical one, and just don't get your physical rewards. That's literally in their FAQ. That was their recommendation. You want the bonus PDF stuff, spend enough money to get the physical stuff, and then just don't get the physical stuff, which felt like a giant fucking middle finger. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen on Kickstarter, as far as being not friendly to their backers. So, I left a comment, a bunch of other people left a comment asking about some type of digital tier, and then they actually did. They dropped the digital tier where you can get a PDF, and then you get access to the PDF enhancement goals, quote unquote, the bonus non-core extra PDF content. Still doesn't let you have add-ons for that though, which I'm like, you literally just lost out on like $50 to $80, because going through this, like I would buy the PDFs for at least 3 starter adventures, and knowing me, once I bought 3, I would just say fucking buy all 8 or 9 of them. So you literally just missed out on like $80 because you just didn't put add-ons on that tier. I don't understand why you're being stingy with add-ons. It's literally just bonus money for shit that people are already buying.
For those of you in podcast land, you missed this really great moment where me and Ryan did air quotes at the same time, unbidden. I wasn't even looking at the screen. We just quote.
So you gotta.
There's something about this is gonna sound dumb as hell. There's something about the spirit of this Kickstarter that I do not like.
I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, the company, the way they're doing this, I do not like it. I do not like these fancy labels. I was actually going through. Who is it? Mike Selinker's 10 rules for writing rules, and a lot of them are like keep things simple and use terms that people know. And this is like a great example. This isn't writing rules necessarily, but like, why would you not? There's terminology people understand and know. Don't make them look for it. Don't use intermediate terms. Like, call a spade a spade. If it's a thing, it's a thing.
Right. Yeah. On top of just, again, not allowing add-ons on a thing, it just doesn't make sense. And their whole rationale, you know, when they did drop the thing, they said we've crunched the numbers and crunched the numbers again, and we can offer. It's like you're already
I did read that. So
what? You're already almost quadruple backed for the amount that you need to be able to just unlock a digital tier so that you can send people PDFs that you're already creating. Like, it makes no sense. You're literally just throwing away money. You're just being like, no, don't give us money at that point. It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, so, like the physical stuff, not having a bunch of physical add-ons, I can see because there's a cost associated with that, right? More or less. But like the digital stuff, it's like you're making it. Yeah, you're like you just said, like it's made. Like just let people buy it from you. Like you're just gonna email it to them. It doesn't cost you anything, you know?
Yeah, it literally makes no sense. So I did back it at the PDF level to get the PDF, you know, with the bonus content stuff too. Basically, I know we talked about Cthulhu Hack before, but real quick, it's basically rules like Call of Cthulhu is what it feels like. So I'm excited for that, and I do want to see how it plays out. But, you know, even now, it's got 8 days left to go. I might cancel before the end just because I just don't like how they ran this. Like, they just feel like shitty business people at the end of the day. So
we'll see what happens. Of any other Kickstarters recently that I've been like, I really don't like how they're running this. But man, this one I'm like, I really do not like how they're running this.
Yeah. 3 more we're going to go over. The most important one for last. There's one called Merger, which I'm super excited for. Right. It's a single-player RPG about macrocosmic corporate horror. I wish this was more than single-player, and I'm curious if there are rules that allow it to be multiplayer. But basically,
that fucking title, dude, macrocosmic corporate horror. It is has the amazing econ and Cthulian humor right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It says Merger is a single-player role-playing game about trying to survive against living predatory corporations. The game is certainly a metaphor for living in late-stage capitalism, Etherich. It is also quite literal. Corporations in Merger are large, faceless, monstrous entities that span time zones and continents, gestalt organisms built of millions of individuals. It says a little bit later, your character can see these corporate bodies for what they really are. They glimpse flesh in the cracks of the cement, see eyes looking back at them in the conference room, and can feel blood under their feet as they walk between skyscrapers. So it's this kind of anti-corporate, you know, late stage capitalism, you know, fight against that. But those creatures are actually Lovecraftian horrors that you're fighting against. One of the things that I really, you know, dig most about it is they have a base prototype of the core mechanics, and it's kind of like a mixed success system. It is a mixed success system. It's just not 2d6, but it's split up into all the standard polyhedral dice. But your action rolls as a player use the smallest dice, d4, d68, and the dice rolls for the corporate, you know, Lovecraftian entities are d8, d10, d12. And your fail, mixed success for you is 6 fail, 12 mixed success, 18 success. But for the corporation, it's 10 fail, 8 mixed success, 9 success. So it's easier for them to do, and they have higher rolls. So basically the whole game is stacked against you. But there is a mechanic to use stress to add bonuses to your rolls and things, but stress drives you insane. So basically, as you try to fight the corporation, the only way to win is by, you know, stressing out your mind. Eventually your mind will break as you try to beat the corporation.
This is a little too on the nose, you know. I backed it. I'm stoked to get it, but man, it's a little too close to reality for old Hunter.
I think it's great. I think it's incredibly intelligently done, and I really like. I've talked to Source of Victory. Oh yeah, I talked to Source of Victory a lot about how you want your game to reinforce. You want your mechanics of your game to reinforce what you want the game to be like, right? So
this is an amazing example of that. So
it's exactly what it is. You want a game about corporate eldritch horrors, and I can't think of a better mechanic than being like the game is literally stacked against you mechanically, and you're fighting with everything you have, including your own sanity, to try to, you know, beat this and escape. So it looks really cool. It's relatively inexpensive.
Just like in my day-to-day life, you know.
Here you go. What I love about it too is it's Canadian, so our dollar is actually worth more. So 17 Canadian is only 14 US, and that gets you the PDF and the zine.
$14? Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So it's those British pounds that are really fucking up a lot of these backers, you know, these things for me. Two other projects we want to talk about. One, I have never backed a Kickstarter faster in my life than I backed Red Giant. Red Giant, a Curse World tabletop role-playing game. I didn't need to know anything about it except the tagline. The tagline says this: a rules-light tabletop RPG inspired by anime like Berserk, Claymore, and Vampire Hunter D in a curse world you cannot survive. Backed it as soon as I saw that. Literally backed it as soon as I saw this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I said.
Yeah. It's that's all you need to say. You know, I think later they add like one more thing in here. It's Vampire Hunter D, Berserk, Castlevania, Claymore. Those are 4 of my favorite pieces of media, period. So, you know, I literally
saw
have
this, I read through it and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and send this to Ryan because he's going to back it.
Yeah. But it looks really cool. And I really like so first of all, one of my favorite things about this, I feel like maybe we did talk about this, but maybe we didn't. No, I think maybe I was talking to Sarsa. My favorite thing about this, and another reason to back it instantly, and it still has 18 days to go and is funded at almost $24,000 out of a $1,500 goal. One of my very favorite things about this, and you love to see it, if you scroll way down to the bottom, it says, I had a hard time finding it before too. You're not backing to see this. Here it is. I will read this, and I'll probably read it again so you can hear it, because this is how you do a Kickstarter. The game is complete and ready to go. The game is complete and ready to go. It's not getting backed and then waiting 2 years to send it to you. It's done. As you have seen above, we already have our print proofs. The project is not at the start of the game development lifecycle. It is at the very end. All the major work is done. The Kickstarter is not a promise to eventually create the project. It is a promise to get it in your hand as fast as it can be printed and shipped. The fulfillment date for this is like December 9th. And it still has like 18 days left to go on November 20th. Literally, and it's going to be print on demand. Basically, there might be a couple stretch goals that they'll work on, but the core book is done. As soon as a project's done and the money clears, they send you a print on demand code. Done. I could not be happier. I should have this book in my hand before the end of the year. That jazzes me up. I don't understand projects that are literally like, thanks for your money, we'll see you in 2 years. Makes no sense to me. Why isn't the core of your shit done?
Project fan, because I'll forget about them.
I do. Well, you should see. I don't even want to dig into all the ones I've done. But long story short, it's rules light. I've dug through it. What I really like about it too is they actually send you most of the core rules as just a free download and an adventure that works with those core rules, so you could actually play the game before you even get the game. And I love that. I love when Kickstarter. Yeah.
They were really cool.
I know you read through them.
Yeah, I was really cool. The way you build characters was really interesting, and it gave you like they gave a lot of like these choices for like almost like pseudo character classes. Not really, like imperfections that give you things to your character. You can make this like really interesting, like personalized cursed character. I thought it was really cool thematically. It worked really well. You know, maybe I'll run that. I'm running my group wants me to run something different tomorrow, so maybe that's what we'll run. Actually, we're probably going to do Into the Odd because I really want to run it, but.
Yeah, no, and we'll go over that here shortly. But yeah, it looks great. It's backed again. Do it. Just back it. It's badass. Red Giant is
really cool.
It's really cool. Red Giant is set in a world where the sun has expanded and bloomed into a cursed crimson light that bathes the world's surface, an enemy to those who still walk the planet. The arrival of this cursed sun causes ancient beings and horrors to become unearthed from their eternal sleep, left once again to roam the planet, destroying everything in their wake. Long story short, sun turns red. Everything that can exist in the light of day can now exist, which is interesting. Another thing, I have a home world that I've been working on for years and years and years that uses literally that base concept. The sun gets turned red, and all the creepy crawlies that are stuck in the dark come out and fuck shit up. So, you know, again, based on my favorite media, uses a narrative that I obviously like since I'm doing it in my own homebrew stuff. So yeah, backed it. It looks amazing.
Exactly why I sent it to you. I was like, oh, yeah. It's like Aerodol.
That's like Aerodol. It's my homebrew world. Exactly. And what's cool too is it's only like $30 to get the limited edition hardcover.
Limited edition is $30.
Well,
yeah.
Well, here's the other thing too, though, and I always forget this. It's $30 plus the at print cost with the POD code. So
I can pay that whenever I get the POD code, I can pay it whenever I want to. You know?
So at the end of the day, it's probably about $50. It'd probably be $20 to print this for that amount for the hardback full color and everything with the limited edition. So it's $50 for a book basically, and then just character sheet PDF. Don't care. I want it. Send it to me.
Yeah, I do really want it. So
yeah. It's.
I mean,
good.
also
It's
like for me right now, I'm trying to budget and pay for some other stuff. So to be like, oh yeah, like you can pay for it and get the print on demand code, and then just print the print on demand code whenever like
whenever you want.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the very last one we're going to talk about before we get into the odd is something Hunter and I were both just fucking creaming our jeans for.
It's here.
For weeks leading up to it. I don't remember. I don't know which one I was more excited for. No, I do. Whether it was Mothership or Cyborg. It was Cyborg. Yeah, it was Cyborg. Yeah, absolutely. And eventually we'll go over Vast Grim too, which I know you've seen Vast Grim, right? It is it is Merkborg converted into space horror. Same exact rules and everything. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you got to check it out. I mean, it's in the process of being fulfilled now. But Cyborg is literally Merkborg from Free League and everything. So we'll go into this. Cy_Borg, nano-infested doomsday RPG about cybernetic misfits and punks raging against a relentless corporate hell. It's literally it's Johan Nohr, but not Pele Nielsen. I think he might write a little bit of stuff in this, but it is another person who is popular in the kind of Swedish, indie tabletop role-playing game scene. It is, oh gosh, what is his name? Why don't they have his name like super prominent right at the beginning? You can find it as we go through it. But long story short, if you like Merkborg, you will love the shit out of this. It's basically it's Merkborg in the future, where the world is still hell and is ending soon, but it is basically post late stage capitalist hell, and you are punks trying to fight against this capital. I feel like it's like almost a dark Johnny Mnemonic is the vibe I instantly got. Have you ever seen Johnny Mnemonic?
No, what's Johnny Mnemonic?
Oh my god, I can't. Oh, so Johnny Mnemonic is a Keanu Reeves movie where it's basically like this. It is post corporate. It's a post corporate world. It's a whole concept of just like, there were corporate wars and shit, and the governments have collapsed and corporations rule everything, and and there's this guy named Johnny Mnemonic who basically is a courier who downloads information into his head that needs to be passed on so it can't be stolen. And he gets this information downloaded into his head, and obviously shit goes crazy.
I have not ever seen this, but it has Keanu Reeves in it, and it's from '95, so I probably will watch it. So
yeah, Johnny Mnemonic is a really underrated movie. It's really, really good. I know L2 is a fan, but basically, that's what's going on with Cyborg here. And of course, we're all obsessed with Merkborg, all of us here. So
did you see what L2S said? Everyone's mad the world didn't end when they said it would hundreds of years ago in Merkborg.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. They even talk about their similar mechanics. Like instead of the omens, it's headlines. So it's these like corporate fed headlines, and it's just the news about the world's going to shit. So it's a similar mechanic. But what's really interesting about it too is it's not just a straight it's not just Merkborg made cyberpunk, right? There's a ton of extra specific, like tech specific punk, anti-corporate specific changes to the rules that they said. It's not just a straight, it's just Merkborg in a different setting. There's more stuff to it. So some of the stuff about it, the heresiarchs that force Merkborg upon this dying world present the hardwired, deck hacking, brick throwing spin-off, nano-infested doomsday about cybernetic misfits. We already said about that. The world is ending again and again and again and again and again. It is constantly in flux, shifting, distorting, always reborn as something worse. Destruction by ecological catastrophes, the fallout of history's belligerence, by modern man-made miseries, or the blood spilled by the reckless machine of capitalist supremacy. Mankind's greatest ability truly is to destroy itself in creative ways. Poisonous space rocks, nuclear weapons, cyclical revolutions, warring nations, warring corporations, warring neighbors, pandemics, tsunamis, volcanoes, in between it all, direct person-machine interfaces, tactical neuroimplants, and bacteria from outer space hijacking intercellular nanorobotics, and the sky is full of ads. I mean, come the fuck on. I mean,
it's so cool.
It's so cool. Like this, it just... every aspect of like what the 90s thought grungy cyberpunk was, you know what I mean? Like this reminds me of Johnny Mnemonic. This reminds me of Total Recall. This reminds me if who was the guy that wrote all of those? Who wrote like what Blade Runner is based on and all that kind of stuff? L2 will know this. Why am I blanking? Like Minority Report is based on this guy's writing. Like all of those things are based on this guy's writings, and I'm completely blank. Philip K. Dick. If Philip K. Dick was goth, this is what Philip K. Dick would have written. You know. So yeah, it's there it is. Yeah. So it's a mega city full of just, again, post-capitalist hellscape where the world went to shit and the rich only got richer and richer and richer. Basically, America in 15 years. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, tomorrow. Now, it just hasn't got quite as bad yet. So that's it. It's a 160-page book. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, it backed for a ton of money. So they're bringing in a lot of guest writers. They're doing a lot of add-on content. It's really exciting. I mean, it's $11,000 goal, and they backed for $367,000, and there's 11 days to go yet with 5,000. So
they definitely made. They definitely. You're trying to invest in Kickstarter. It's already made. Yeah. It definitely made.
It's already done. And if you go through the spreads, it's absolutely stunning. I mean, again, it's Johan Nohr again coming with the graphic design and with a lot of the art. And you can't go wrong with him.
I mean, but this is like a really peak Johan Nohr. Like, I love his stuff. He does a really good job. But this, like, going through the spreads on these, I'm like, oh, this is like very next level. This is the best he's done so far. Yeah.
They even on the website right now, not their own music, obviously, but they made a playlist of this is the kind of shit you could listen to for this. I mean, it's got like Skinny Puppy and stuff on it. So that's really badass. But then you also get art asset packs with it. There's a much bigger map than Merkborg. Basically, this feels like a bigger game. This just feels like the next step in Merkborg. It's a massively bigger game than Merkborg. I would say just this core region here, and I'm pointing to this like kind of 4-region section, is the Merkborg map. And I would say this map is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably like 7 or 8 times as big as a Merkborg map. So
yeah, if you're listening in podcast land, like I really would encourage you to just go check it out. Even if by the time you're listening to this, the project is already closed on Kickstarter. I mean, it's just like, it looks so fucking cool, man.
It's so cool. And they have a limited edition book too. It's just black and then this like silver and purple. It's basically got this kind of like cyberpunk on the front with this crazy hair, but there's this silver bar over his eyes and it's all glitched out. Like, of course I backed it, and I backed it at the highest possible tier. Yeah, the highest tier possible that like wasn't like a retailer or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy. I'm so excited for it. And the fact that no, the deadline is December 1st, 2021. I was going to say there's definitely not a June 2022 is when it's supposed to arrive, and Mothership doesn't arrive till November 2022. So we can be playing Cyborg for like 6 months before Mothership gets here. Yeah. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff back that's not going to come out till 2022. Oh no, Red Giant says its estimated delivery is February 2022. Man, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Lied.
So anyway, that is...
lied to our podcast, Ryan.
I know, and I'm sorry. Well, I just said I'm a liar and I'm a terrible person, and I do apologize to everybody. So we are... That is Kickstart the Podcast. Not there's something you want to go over. There's a couple other that I was looking at, but honestly, I didn't back any of them. Some of them look neat, but that's what's up. I backed
one, and I only kind of lightly went over it, but just stylistically, I really liked it.
Which one's this?
You know, I've already forgotten the name, but let me look on this list. And
there's some other Merkborg stuff that's coming out too. I think Chris Eichhorn is one who put out another one that looks really, really good. But I did not back it. I have so much Merkborg stuff that I'll probably never even get to play that I'm done backing Merkborg stuff. So
here, I'm going to send you the link real quick in our...
If you just tell me what it's called, I will search it.
Reach of the Roach God, a part
of... yeah.
No, and
actually, Reach of the Roach God, this guy who wrote this is, I believe, if you go through the updates for Cyborg, one of the authors that's going to be additional add-on content.
Cool.
Yeah.
It just looked so cool, and the book looked so pretty, and there's a very good flavor to it. It's this like Southeast Asian like mythological culture, and there's a lot of stuff right now in the indie tabletop space that is from the same area. And I don't know, it just looked fucking cool, man. I actually didn't even read that deeply, and it was fairly affordable. It was like $20 or something. So I was like, yeah, I'll go back it. It's a beautiful piece. So
yeah, no, it looks great. I looked at this multiple times and decided not to back it for no reason I can think of, except that, you know, I think that when I'm looking at system neutral stuff, anyone that's listened, that knows me or has listened to the podcast, knows my aesthetic by this point.
Yeah,
this is not
quite dark enough for you.
It's not. I mean, and the thing is, what I really want to do with Kickstarter now is only back things that I have every intention of actually playing, which is one reason I'm not backing any more Kickstarter set or 5e settings or any of bonus stuff for 5e.
5e stuff.
Because if I'm gonna run 5e, I know what I'm gonna run it in. So I don't want to do a new setting that I'm not gonna run. There's probably 8 to 10 projects that I have backed on Kickstarter that I have not yet received the rewards for, that I don't care about anymore, and I'm just like, that was a waste of money. But this does look really neat. It's a system neutral tabletop RPG campaign inspired by the vast caves of Southeast Asia, and the book looks awesome. It looks like, you know, a book from like the late 1900s or something, you know what I mean? Like they made it up to look really, really neat. So definitely something to dig deep into. It was funded in like 27 minutes. I was actually surprised at how quickly it funded, and with how much it funded. I don't know why, but I mean, I obviously am not as plugged into tabletop role-playing games. I feel like I'm okay plugged in, but not nearly as a lot of other people. And
Twitter, baby.
I was just,
I'm telling you, and I find so much on Twitter.
Yeah, but this author he's done a bunch of stuff, and this looks really good. So it's interesting, and we'll see. Again, you backed it, so we'll see what happens. And it is out of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So it's definitely, you know, I almost backed it even just to be like, okay, this isn't my aesthetic, and that's exactly why I should back it. You know what I mean? To see something different. But again, trying to save money, and especially after Cyborg and Mothership dropped, and I dropped hundreds of dollars on each of those, I was like, this is one I can pass on.
Let me be honest, man. Like, they have the PDF is hyperlinked, you know.
Oh, you know how I like me a PDF hyperlinked, and we will talk about that when we get to Into the Odd. So I think that's about everything we have this week for Kickstart the Podcast. So why don't we get into the Odd?
Into the Odd. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So, and let me do one of these boys here, and we'll go some full screen action.
Ooh, full screen action. Hey, if you're listening to the podcast, I want you to know right now we got full screen action going on.
Yeah, you gotta come check us out on Twitch, 8 o'clock in the mornings on Saturdays. So just looking at the cover right away, fuck, it's pretty. It looks great. It's awesome. I really enjoy it. Rules and writing by Chris McDowall, graphic design and art by Johan Nohr. So Into the Odd already exists. This is a remastered version that they're putting out for it. One of my favorite things about this Kickstarter was it had like 2 tiers. It had PDF tier, hardback, book, and that's it. Beautiful, amazing, and add-ons, very few if any. And it backed for a ton of money, and basically they can be like, okay, we pay people more for what they did for us. So
I've been really listening to a lot of Chris McDowall stuff recently, like, because he goes live a lot and talks, and so there's a lot of videos of him on YouTube. You know, I really like him, and I understand his mentality behind this game and like what he was trying to get out of it. So yeah. Also, Johan Nohr, baby.
I mean, anything Johan Nohr. So. Again, it's a rules light, flavor heavy role playing game of industrial horror and cosmic strangeness. Do the rules?
Is it industrial horror?
At what point? As we go over the rules, let me know if any part of the rules. And this is one thing that I've talked to Sarsa a lot, and I've learned a lot of stuff about game design. And one of the most important things that we've talked about is that your game design should really reinforce what you want the game to be. Right. So, you know, 5th edition doesn't do that at all. It's whatever.
5th edition wants to be anything. So
wants to be anything and everything. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wants to, and it can be kind of a little bit of everything, you know, but I feel like you're at the same point I'm at, where I don't want to kind of have something. If I want to do Cosmic Horror, I don't want a 5th edition Cosmic Horror setting, because 5th edition is not written to be Cosmic Horror. If I want to do Cosmic Horror, I will play Alien or I will play Mothership, because those were written to be Cosmic Horror. So we'll see. Yeah. L2 says, it reminds me of the album art of Monty Python Holy Grail soundtrack, which has that vintage paper doll color. It does. It really does. So the art has this kind of, it always reminds me of a wreath. You know, it's just a giant O with this texture on it. Inside it says Into the Odd. Above it is a building, which to me always looks like a prison, even though there's not walls. It's just a tower and buildings. And then crawling out of the O are these people down into this really weird kind of cosmic landscape. But all the colors are very like flat. There's a strip of orange on the side. The O is orange. Into the Odd is white. The background is this kind of greenish teal color. And then everything else on it is pink. So it's very bright. It's not
bright,
over
it's block colory. It's fairly like minimal in like a nice way. It's very clean.
In like a very graphic design way. I use that term a lot, and I hope people understand what I mean by that. But like when you think of like 2000s graphic design, you know, this is exactly what I kind of think. We still need to go over art too, because that's another one that's extremely like graphic design-y when you look at it. So as we dig into this again, so the book itself is not very long. The book it's like 150 pages or whatever. But
the rules are like 13 or something now, you know.
The rules, I mean, gosh, yeah, it's not even that. Like if you just do rolling a character and then playing the game, it's like 8 pages.
Yeah,
it's literally like 8 pages.
And this is a big thing. So Chris McDowall was talking about, you know, his big thing about the original Into the Odd was that all of the rules could fit on a single page. And with this one, and as we go through the layout, you'll see that it can't all fit on a single page, but there's a lot of extra space, a lot of extra room. The pages are not very busy, and so it makes it a lot more visually appealing to look at the pages.
I think it does. If you go to the very last page in the book, I'm almost positive it's like 1 to 2 pages, like breakdown of like the entire thing.
All the rules together. I think you might be right.
I'm gonna scroll all the way to the bottom real quick just to see. And then we'll see if I'm right, because I do remember going to the final page.
Close your eyes to not ruin this. So
yeah,
I'll tell you what.
Here's a bunch of roll tables in the back, trinkets and mutations and stuff like that. I do believe, again, roll tables. Holy shit, I didn't realize. Oh, that's what the entire Odd Pendium or whatever is all roll tables. I thought there was. Maybe I'm completely wrong, or maybe it was like right before the adventures is literally just a spread that's all of the rules. I'm nearly positive that is a thing. I think
there's one here somewhere, but I'm not. You know, off the top of my head, it's not coming to my brain. So
example monsters, encounters. Yeah, well, we're at a place that we're going to be going over the book now, so we don't need to do that anymore. So let's just go over the book. So
I'll start us. If you're reading along, page 4 is kind of this an odd.
Well, first. Again, this is just a pre-print PDF. I don't know if we'll get a different one. It's not hyperlinked. I just want to point out it's not hyperlinked.
It's like 70 pages, so
it's like 120 pages.
Whatever, I can't count.
I'm just saying it's not hyperlinked. Anyway, yeah. Oddworld. Continue.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that was the only point you were gonna make, you fucking asshole.
Listen, fuck, like hyperlink is important.
An Oddworld. The world. So yeah, if you're listening to the podcast, this is page 4. If you have it, I mean, but if not, you're gonna listen. The world is too large for explorers to map and too old for academics to record. Expeditions return with tales of places, bizarre wonders. Sorry, tales of places, bizarre, wondrous, and horrific. You are an explorer, braving the unknown in search of riches, knowledge, and power. Most of all, you seek arcana, strange devices holding unnatural powers. They range from a humble piece of jewelry to vast sculptures. There are many religious and scientific theories around their existence, but most settle somewhere in between. So like just starting out, the world is very open-ended to whatever you need or want it to be, because it's so big and so old. No one really knows what's going on. And your character is an explorer. Like this is a dungeon delving game at its core. It really is like the point is to go to a dungeon, find Arcana, and then build a business. It has this feel of like not original D&D, but was it second edition AD&D that had like, yeah, you had followers, you could build businesses, but we'll get there anyway. Brian,
well, I guess my question with that, I didn't read the adventures because I think one of us is going to play it. So my question is, are they all dungeon delves? Because I don't see this world as specifically just dungeon delving. Like, I mean, I guess theoretically the concept of a dungeon, like you could be in space and and have like the concept of a dungeon, but like they're all specifically
a dungeon delve and a hex crawl at the end of this. There's there's several dungeon delves, several dungeons. And they're very
Gotcha. Okay. See, I didn't really see this as specifically just dungeon crawl. I thought it was more of just like you could do like an open world exploration, and I guess you could, but a lot of rules light stuff really does kind of really gear you towards dungeon crawls. So anyway,
So continuing, citizens flock to Bastion. It is a vast its vast industries, I cannot read today, provide dangerous but dependable work. And its docks send guns, chemicals, and newspapers to distant neighbors. Beneath the city, the underground stretches just as far. Sewers twist into tunnels, hiding ancient caves and forgotten vaults. Fallen cities are adorned with statues of star beings. Cultists manifest their fervor into reality, and belligerent unions prepare for a cosmic invasion. Familiar landscapes are overrun by strange weed, corrosive mists creep in from the sea, and jet black mountains watch from the horizon. This odd world has been affected by beings stranger than we can imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah, the world setting's very interesting. And we'll get deeper into it. And the underground's like a very interesting thing that like almost, I don't know, to me, it almost was a little tacked on. It's like, oh yeah, and also there's the underground. You can go under the city and there's all stuff underground, but whatever, we'll get there. So after page 4, we have 2 pages of just like really cool, fantastic artwork.
Oh my God, the art is so good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's unfortunate because in this book, the art's fairly minimal. But when it hits, it hits. And these 2 pages do be hitting, you know?
They do be hidden. It's just crazy too. One of the things I really enjoy about the art is it's got this, I don't even know, I wish I would have paid more attention to art history and stuff like that, but there's this like texture on all of it, especially these 2 pages specifically, that just gives it this kind of almost, it almost looks like it was drawn on like construction paper kind of. Am I completely off base with that? You know what I mean? Like it just, it's got this texture that gives it a vibe that I don't know how to describe, except that I get it. You get it when you see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it, I totally know what you mean, but I'm also looking at it, so I very much get it. So
yeah. So there's a whole section here now about, and we're not really going to dig too deep into this. We're doing this. I think we're going to call this a deep dive, which means we're going to go page by page. We do have multiple types of episodes. We have, we decided to call them deep dives when you go page by page and really dig deep. We got like read throughs when we just kind of flip through the book, talk about the parts that we really liked, and then kind of move on from there. I think we did a deep dive, or I think we did a more of a read through of Warpland. And obviously my deep dive was into Troika. So we're going to do a deep dive into this book for the most part, but it's the parts outside of the adventures are so minimal. You can deep dive it pretty easily. Pretty much. So
also,
but we don't really need to go over,
it's that granular ink on parchment look. When we talk about
that's a much better way to describe
exactly
that.
What we're talking about.
Yeah. L2's got it. So there's a whole section here about new to RPGs, which is great to have in a book.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if this was just a zine and there weren't the adventures and all you were getting was the rules in like 25 pages, would you need this part? No. I'm sorry. The fact that it's a book, is this part nice? Yes. It's how do you play? What's up with everyone? We all know what this is.
Yeah. And if you're new to RPGs, you should go through this. And frankly, going through this game as we go through it, if you're brand new to tabletop RPGs, this is not a bad option for you to pick up. It's simple.
This definitely gives you a better understanding of the fact that when people say 5th edition is a good on-ramp to table RPGs, they're fucking lying. This is a good on-ramp onto tabletop RPGs. It gives you all the concepts of tabletop role-playing games without the complexity, without needing like 3 different books, without literally needing like an hour-long class to figure out how to build a character. Because I used to run 5th edition like intro courses, and it would take a minimum an hour to build a fucking character.
It's fucking complicated, man. And then like
it is.
God, explaining dice to people and like Sorry. Okay, so moving on. We're at the rolling a character, or I'm sorry, you're not the rolling character. I am.
Oh, no. Yeah. So, well, yeah. So again, it's just how do you play? What do you need? It just says there's a demon players and you need some dice. That's literally what it says about the new RPGs. So yeah, going into chapter 2, rolling up characters, go for it.
Yeah. So page 8, if you're listening, rolling a character, roll 3d6 for each ability score. 10 is the average, which implies that you can allow people to take the average, but doesn't necessarily say it. So kind of you can leave it up to you. So we have strength, fighting, fortitude, and toughness, dexterity, grace, athletics, reflexes, and willpower, confidence, discipline, and charisma. And those are the 3 stats, baby. Everything is off of these 3 stats.
Which I like. I really like it. Basically, it's a lot of the rules like games give you 4.
Yes.
And I think the only one that's really missing from here is some type of magic stat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But there is
almost all the other ones have.
Works in this game, so
yeah. But basically, willpower is an easy way to say con, basically constitution. So it's just strength, dex, and con. They're all physical. They're all physical parts of the game. And when we get to the Arcana part, you'll understand why there's not like a magic stat, because I don't believe, and maybe I'm completely wrong, that there are casters in this game. All of the magic comes from these objects that they find.
Right.
So
yeah. What did Emerson say? D&D.
Emerson said D&D. Yeah. No. Okay, D&D used to be, I'm going to edit all of that out. That noise does not need to be on the podcast. D&D used to be back in the original single book and the box sets, although even then it was more rules heavy than some of the rules light stuff now.
Very much agree. Okay, continue on. After this, it's still on the same page. We got characters start with D6 hit protection, a measure of their ability to avoid life-threatening damage. So you don't have hit points, you have hit protection. And this is what you take hits from before you actually take real damage, which we'll get into in a little bit. So we'll table it until we get there. You'll have better understanding when we get there. Give me just a second, y'all. I apologize. Melee, we cannot hear you.
It's still muted. Hey, hi. So we'll edit all that out too. Great. Let me just mark down the times of the things that I need to edit real quick. So that's at 1 hour and 2 minutes. 1 hour. Yeah. So long story short, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break and we'll be right back because I don't want to miss any of what we're talking about right now. First of all, because the game's not that long, but second, because it's really, really interesting and I want to make sure I go over it with you. So 2 minutes and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay. BRB, homie. Hello and welcome back. We are going to get back into it. I know we're just going over characters start with D6 hit protection. So
cool. Yeah. Melee's back from pooping.
Edit that out too. We'll edit that out too.
I'm just going to go back one thing so it's easy for us to clip in post. Characters start with D6 hit protection, HP, a measure of their ability to avoid life-threatening damage. So hit protection, not hit points. It protects you from taking actual damage, which we'll get into in a little bit. Starter package.
You know what that reminds me of real quick though?
What
Mechanica we looked at recently that's kind of similar-ish?
What did we? I mean, we look at so many fucking mechanics, man. Was it Vigor? Was that what we were looking at?
No, man. No, it's a mech mechanic and Lancer. Does the same thing.
Oh, that's right. Because you have that modicum of you can refresh your health with a repair, essentially your protection before you take structure damage.
Right.
Yeah, it's like conceptually very similar. And you take like a similar thing to structure damage in this actually. So, starter package. Consult the starter package table in the following spread to find your starting equipment. Actually, I feel like the best way for us to do this is, Ryan, do you want to roll a character while we do this? And just write your stats down in a little Google Doc?
Yeah, I can do that. I got post-it notes too.
Oh yeah, you have to post-it notes. You're gonna roll 3d6. I got a dice roll up if you need one. But
no, I got me some dice rollers. TTRPG.
You got a dice roller, baby.
Roll a die, baby. All right, so I'm rolling 3d6.
Yep.
5, 4, 3. Oh, interesting.
Holy shit! Really? So you have a 5 in strength, a 4 in dexterity, and a 3 in willpower.
5, 4, 3. Yeah, I pulled it up so that the
sorry.
stream
So
can
you
see
have
it.
12. It's 3d6 for each. So you have 12. So 12 for your first stat.
So 12 for strength. So my S is strength, and
Dude,
then
you're fucked if those are your stats.
I got 10 for the next one. So that's my dex, and then I got 14 for willpower. 6 up and 2 4s. All right, so my stats are 12, 10, 14.
And you roll D6
strength,
for hit protection?
D6 for hit protection, just 1d6 for that. 2.
Fantastic. Cool.
Cool.
I'll hold that there, and we'll keep going. So starter package, yeah, there's a starter package. It's a package that you start with, obviously, but it's based on your stats. That's why I had you roll. Companions. For small groups, each player may create one or more companions, roll their ability score. So they'll get regular ability score, but they only have 1 hit protection and they have a hand weapon. So if you're going with a really small group, but you still want to play, you absolutely can. They're going to have these little, like, essentially minions, or like, you know, people who in this system, it makes more sense like people they employ or work for them, you know? Yeah.
Like a henchman kind of situation?
Yeah,
or
yes, like henchmen, like, yeah, classic D&D mechanics that are great. So going down, we got this another really fucking good art piece. It says Bastion.
Hirelings. That's the word. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Man, L2, you're fucking killing the game today. Let me tell you.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
You can take my job. You can be the co-host. But yeah, this really fucking cool piece of art. And I cannot place where this person and this piece of art is from, but they are like a lot of jewelry that's very over the top, like face of makeup that's mostly in like grayscale. But yeah, it says Bastion across it. Very cool. 10 out of 10. Yeah, L2, you're a hireling, actually. Okay, so starter package table. So match your highest ability score against your HP to find your starting package. Weapons have their damage roll listed, and those marked with a B are bulky items. So this is really cool. Honestly, frankly, I've gone through this. The worse your stats are, the better your starting equipment is. Oh,
that's interesting. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Ryan, let's go to you. So how much health did you have?
Well, so to just go over this table a little bit more, there's a ton. It's literally, like he just said, it's a column for every level of HP from 1 to 6. So there's literally 6 things, and it's 3 to 18 for each one. So it's 2 full pages for starter equipment. And if you read through them, they're very different. So I got
very different.
Yeah. So a random one, which is not what I got. Let's go to like 5 and 16, right? Pistol, acid, animal repellent, and a prosthetic hand, right? But I got, my highest was 2 and 14, so I only have 2 HP, and my highest stat is my willpower at 14. So I get a pistol, which is a D6, a bell, steel wire, and a smoke bomb.
Okay, I rolled a character real quick, and I got 2 and 12. Sorry, one more time. Did you say a smoke bomb? Like, there's these cool little fucking just like accessory items. They're just so good, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For mine, I got 2 HP, and then my highest stat was 11. I did not roll very well. So I have a hatchet, a pistol, bolt cutters, and then 1 arcanum.
Ooh.
Yeah, so some stats actually, some like will let you start with arcana, and some won't.
Interesting. If you would have picked the 12, though, you would have had a musket, which is D8B, which means bulky, which is basically the same concept as like in D&D it's basically like two-handed. Like it's just yeah. So I do really enjoy this table a lot. First of all, tables is classic old school like role playing, you know, and realistically, if you look at the tables outside of backgrounds in 5th edition D&D, the only real tables they have that I can think of off of my head at all are in backgrounds, which is just an add-on to D&D, and not Wandering Monster table, but just like the random encounter tables. I honestly cannot think of any other time where there are roll tables for shit in 5th edition. It's funny because I didn't think about how much I liked roll tables until a while back. You said something about like roll tables being so great, and then now that I have really transitioned into not playing D&D and frankly playing a lot of these games, I'm like, oh fuck, these roll tables are fantastic. It makes it easy, fun, spontaneous. Like it makes it more fun for me as the game master. You know? Well, one of the other things that too is when I have new players play 5th edition specifically, I always have them do standard array. I do not have them roll stats.
Yeah, you do love the standard
especially
array.
Well, no, the reason I do that is for the exact reason that I don't do it now for people like you and me playing the game.
Right.
They honestly, as a brand new tabletop role playing gamer, imagine this, be this person. Okay. Never played the game before. All right. Say you roll 8 intelligence.
Right.
Do you know what the fuck that means at all? Do you have any context for that at all?
No.
None whatsoever. So are you going to play 8 intelligence?
No.
But now that you've played a ton of tabletop role-playing games and you roll 8 intelligence, you know what that means, right?
5 intelligence, my character's a fucking dumbass.
Exactly, and you're gonna have fun doing it, right?
I am, yeah.
Because it's a challenge for you. You've played enough games that like when you roll up those characters, it's more of a challenge for you to play those stats because you understand the context of it than a new player who has no context for it, because everyone's first player is just them. You know what I mean? Everyone's first character is exactly what you feel like you would be in 5th edition, and then you're gonna play it the way you're gonna play it regardless of what stats you quote unquote roll. So why not use standard array to make the character you want and then understand how stats based as you play the game. So the reason I don't have new players roll stats or have a bunch of roll tables is exactly the reason I love them now as a more experienced player, which makes games like this and Merkborg and things like that really awesome, because all our characters in Merkborg, we picked the class and rolled everything else, you know? So this kind of stuff is fucking awesome.
Merkborg, I did not let them pick their class. They rolled for their class as well. And I created a custom roll table to include all of the non-Merkborg core stuff. CL2, thanks for dropping in for a little bit. Have a good day at work. Yeah, so I made them roll. I make them roll for everything. If there's an option to roll, I'm like, you guys are fucking rolling, you know?
Yeah, but you're not playing with brand newbies, are you?
No, they're medium experience, and also they run a different game without me running it. And so when I came in as like the other person who runs games to be the relief DM, essentially, I set the standard immediately. That was like, if there's an option for it to be random for us to roll it when you play with me, like, we're gonna fucking roll. So yeah. So back to this. This equipment table is fun, awesome, super random. There's other ones in the oppendium, their compendium at the back. If you want to do a different start or weirder stuff, very cool. But yeah, so moving forward, I think next page we're going to be on is being 12. It's the equipment list, and it just gives you a good understanding of what equipment there is, how much it costs, and how much damage it does. And
realistically, we should go through this is the deep dive. Though it's really interesting to see that the way that the weapons. Anytime I see things like this, especially in a rules light system, it's really, really interesting to see where they came from. Like one of my knocks on Merkborg, you know, again, I still think it's one of my favorite games ever. And for the most part, the rules are really well done. My problem with Merkborg is you could literally find the skeleton laying on the ground, pick up its femur and have a D4 weapon. Or you can have like, I think a short sword or a dagger is a D4 weapon. To me, that bugs me a tiny bit. Yeah, to me that bugs me a tiny bit that like my dagger, you know, that I got or bought or did something like that is the same damage as a bone. I mean, there's a couple things like that are just like, I understand the simplicity of it, but it just tweaks me a tiny bit because, and if there were like 5 weapons, it's totally fine. But the fact that there's a ton of different ones and different things, you know, it is what it is. So it's interesting to just read these things. So like unarmed attack is D4, which, okay. Crude weapon.
Start at the very, very top with the money.
Okay, so 100 pennies makes a shilling, and 100 shillings makes a guilder, which is basically, I assume, a gold coin, and a shilling is basically a silver. I like shillings and guilders a lot better than silver and gold, though.
I do too.
It works well. It keeps the PS and G, which, I mean, the P, whatever, it's penny, which is fine for copper. Everyone gets that. But shilling and guilder, if you just write S and G, everyone is still going to understand that, even if they forget to call it shilling and guilder, which is one of the things you talked about when we were talking about Cthulhu Hack. There are things, there is vocabulary that makes sense across all tabletop role-playing games, and you should stick to that. So they picked a cool word that gives a better sense of the setting while still sticking to S and G, and then they did a really good job with that.
British as fuck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he is British, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He really is.
Yeah. So unarmed attack is D4. Crude weapons are one shilling, and they're D6 damage and bulky. So bow, pitchfork, barstool. Basically, crude weapons is what's the other word for it? What does D&D use for it? Improvised weapons.
Improvised weapons. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're bulky, which means bulky is kind of a mix of like two-handed versus like kind of cumbersome. Like I think cumbersome is a good way. Hand weapons, 2 shillings, D6, dagger, sword, pistol, club. Anything that you hold in one hand, basically. Field weapons are just the next kind of step up in the size. So they're D8. They're bulky. Musket, brace of pistols, sword and dagger, halberd. I see hand weapon as one-handed weapons and field weapons as two-handed weapons.
Yes.
Yeah. Noble weapons are worth 30 shillings. Field or 10, and it's the same thing, they're just fancy. So D8 damage, finely made saber, dueling pistol, rapier. So there's no mechanical difference. It's the presentation of it. Right. It's a cost. And then there's heavy guns, D10 damage, bulky, cannot move and fire. Elephant gun, long rifle. You can't be running while you're doing this. You have to stop, set yourself up, and then shoot.
I will say something about noble weapons. There actually is a little bit of a difference, because if you look at like a noble pistol does D8 damage, but a regular pistol does D6. A sword does D6, but a finely made saber does D8. So there is actually a difference. They're more expensive.
Oh, you're right. It's not just, you're right. So it's a mix of the, are they all? Oh yeah, you're right. Basically, noble weapons are hand weapons. They're the one-handed weapons. Yeah. But they do have a higher damage dice. You're right. You're completely right. It is completely different. It's not the same at all. You're completely correct. I thought it was basically just a step up from the field weapons, but it's not. It's the same as the hand weapons. Yeah. But fancy, and they do get a damage dice. So I was completely wrong. Thanks for pointing that out. Modern armor is armor 1. So first of all, I will always and forever, although I am not European by any stretch of the imagination, always use OU. Whenever I'm talking about
you
armor,
see my stuff.
or
I use OU.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you have to. It's just better. It's better. Elegant. It's elegant as fuck.
It's British as fuck.
Yeah, love it. So modern armor, armor 1, breastplate and helm. So armor is just damage soak, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. 50 shillings. Crude armor, 25 shillings. Armor 1, bulky, and it's outdated or ceremonial armor. Yeah. So
you can get armor 1 again. It's just gonna be, for less money, it's just gonna be kind of shitty.
Well, and it's bulky, which is a tag that does make a difference too.
That's what I mean. It's just kind of shitty. Like,
it's shitty. Yeah, and I love that. I love that. I love that they have like the crude weapons and the crude armor and stuff like that, because not everything's fancy as fuck. Shields are 10 shillings plus 1 armor, bulky, flash bang, 10 silver, momentarily blinds anyone that fails a dex save. Fire oil, 10 shillings, sets an area alight, all inside take D6 damage. I love that. A bomb, 20 shillings, a D10 blast. A rocket, 20 shillings, D10, and a colorful explosion. Love it. Colorful. Nice. Smoke bomb, which is on my list of my starting equipment. It's 10 shilling. Fills a room with smoke when lit. Attacks through the smoke are impaired, and we'll get to that. Only a couple left. Poison is 20 shillings. You lose D20 strength if consumed. That sucks. So poison is fucking legit
really
as fuck.
Fuck you up.
That can kill you. That can kill you because if your strength at 0, you're dead, right?
I did not read poison until just now, and I did not realize because if you have a fucking 12 in poison and you roll a 16, you're dead.
You're dead. You're dead. Yeah. Ether inhaled. It's 10 shillings inhaled. A strength save or pass out for an hour. So it's literally like the old like ether. Like people used to like instead of calling it like instead of calling it chloroform, they used to like huff on ether. Acid. 10 silver, the burny kind. D6 damage, burns through most materials. Antitoxin, 10 silver, neutralizes most toxins. And then there's a list of tools, crowbar, saw, glue, things like that. Mirror, writing set, 1 shilling each. And then luxury items are 1 guilder each. Clockwork items, thermometer, elaborate clothes, jewelry. Really interesting. And then there's a section on room and board. Bed in a dormitory, 1 shilling. All the way up to townhouse is 20 shillings. Food and drink, the lowest is bread and broth. It's 10 pennies. The highest is a fine meal is 1 shilling. And then there's beasts and birds. Mule or llamas, 5 shillings. There's hounds, there's mutts, and then birds, which is an interesting thing to very much specify. Parrots and ravens are 10 shillings, and they have stats with them. D6 strength, D4 claws, and hawks, which are 50 shillings and D6 claws. And then there's a section on hirelings and cost per day. They have D6 HP, an ability scores 10 unless noted, and you get a lighter boy, a mercenary, an expert, 1 shilling, 5 shillings, 10 shillings. And then they have, strength 2d6, lantern, and club for a lighter boy, and all the way up to an expert, which is a pistol and an expertise in a specific area. So interesting hirelings, and actually use the word hireling, which is the word we were trying to come up with earlier.
It was, yeah. And I really love this. And I know that we it sucks that we always reference back to D&D, but it's just like the thing that everyone plays. There in 5e, they really, really stepped away from hirelings, from building businesses, and like things like that, especially hirelings, mostly hirelings. And this game has a really big focus on not just hireling, the apprentices that we'll get into that I really, really like. And there's a lot of stuff in this game that if you have a very creative, inventive group, they're going to make this world their own in a very cool way.
And that's what's great about Rules Lights games to begin with. I mean, again, we are constantly going to reference D&D. It's a game that I played the most. It's actually the tabletop game I started with because, I didn't start till 2014, and then I dove in like my entire soul into tabletop games. And I had a point that I was going to make with that, and now I totally forgot what the fuck we were talking about.
It's just nice to listen to you talk, so just keep going.
No, I just don't remember. What did you just say? What did you just say?
Just about the mechanics that kind of those mechanics that have been stripped away as we get into later editions of D&D. Yeah,
it's not coming back to me. So, Lost Point. It was a good one too. I felt that it was a good one, but it's gone. So yeah, I just yeah. I keep trying to pull it back in, but it's gone. So. Gooby's art on the next page.
Yeah,
one of the things I really like about a lot of the art. First of all, the art still has that granulated ink feel, but there's like drawings on the art that give it that like kind of like Grey's Anatomy vibe to it, where it says like this one says C12F. There's another one that said like figure diagram. You know what I mean? Those are really, really
it's
neat.
almost like somebody's like, well, hey, this is like an explanation of what this does, how like it's notes. They're taking notes on this page,
which is great. Yeah.
Very cool. We are now on 15 for playing the game. Ryan, I think you got this one.
Oh, okay. So this is just the basics of literally playing the game. It's literally like 5 pages. It's crazy that, outside of the character creation, it's really short. But that's how rules light games are. Oh, that was my point. Sorry. Rules light games versus like a rules medium game like 5e. And I've talked about this a lot, and I need to remember the law terms. I do have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, so I need to remember these terms. But basically, one of the great things about rules light games is it's you read the rules, and if it doesn't say you can't do it, you can do whatever you want. Where as opposed to 5th edition, where they're so specific that they basically say if it doesn't say you can do it, you can't. Right. And one of the things I love the most about rules light games is that that interpretation that unless it tells me specifically I can't do it, it encouraged me to try to figure out a different way and be creative about it. So, and I feel like this game does that a lot. So I pulled it back, people. I found it and I dragged it back, and you got it. And it was a good point that I've made 18 times.
We delivered that point straight to your ears, straight to your heart, you know?
Straight right into you is where that point is now. It's inside you. So, playing the game, we have saves. A save is a roll to avoid danger from a risky action or situation. Roll d20. If you roll equal or under the appropriate ability score, you pass. 1 is always a success and 20 always a failure. Interesting here, it is a d20 roll under system.
The d20 roll under system.
But the first time I read that, I was like, oh, this is different. You know, I don't. There aren't. I can't think of another. And again, I'm not a complete expert on tabletop role-playing games. Part of the reason we did this is so we learn more about games. Can you think of another d20 roll under?
Not off the top of my head. I know other roll under, not d20, and it's funny because my criticism of D&D, we're back to D&D. The stats are you roll a stat, it's a stat, but you also have the modifier, and the modifier is what actually matters. And the stat like doesn't matter not almost at all, but you know what I mean. Like the +2 is what matters. This one's the opposite. You roll your stat, and if your stat's a 12, it matters because you have to roll under a 12. You know, and it gives you a lot more context to how you use that stat directly, instead of it being a reference to like, oh yeah, it's a 10, so it's a 0, or it's a 12, it's a +1. It's like, well, the number's the number. You got to roll under the, I don't know. I really like this. Very easy to understand. If I was taking a new group through a game, frankly, if I was going to play with a brand new group, this is the game I'm probably going to play. So fucking so easy.
The thing is, even if you don't dig some of the ways that things are done, like another thing that I really love about a lot of these rules like games is most of the people that rate them, that make these kind of games, are like, hack it to fucking pieces, like have fun, make it what you want. But the rules are so light, you don't really need to. You can just run what you want. And I know we talked earlier about, you know, make a game to fit a setting and a genre and things like that. But in a lot of these rules like games, it's so light that if you just take the very core rules, you can do whatever you want. But then they put their vibe onto it with things like character creation and things like that, right, where you have those tables that really give you vibes and things like that. But the base core rules, roll dice, make turn happen, so light, so easy. And I do like roll under. I think Warplane was a roll under, but basically you have a stat and that is your number, and you just have to roll under that. So, and that's really cool because the better you get at something, the easier it is to do stuff, right, because you have a bigger range to roll under. So it's neat. I like it a lot. On turns, generally the players take their turn before any enemies. If there's a risk of being surprised, characters must each roll a dex save or be unable to act on the first turn. On their turn, players can act in any order they wish. It makes me more and more want to get rid of initiative from a lot of things. Still undecided.
I mean, a lot of times you don't. I mean, I think that Incursion currently has you roll 1d6. Each of you rolls a d6, and that's just the order, right? Is that what Incursion is right now?
That's it. That
is fine. That is minimal enough. That is as much as I ever want with initiative. You know? In fact, when I run this tomorrow, I might steal that from Incursion and be like, that's how we're going to roll initiative. Just keep an order to it.
Yeah. Incursion, for those in the podcast world that don't know, is the game that I'm currently working on building. If you go follow or look at the VOD for my personal channel, Melee After Dark, you will find it there. It is amateur at best. It is amateur at best, but I like it, and we'll see. Maybe we'll eventually talk about it here on stream once it goes through some play testing and stuff, but it's whatever. So the other thing you get is actions. On their turn, a character can move and perform an action. Attacks are detailed on the next page, and for other risky actions, the referee calls for the character at risk to roll a save. Whoop. I clicked and it changed the page for me. For example, attempting to trip an opponent might force him to pass a strength save to stay on their feet. And then we have attacks. An attacker rolls a die dictated by their weapon and subtracts the opponent's armor score. Their attack causes this much damage. Ranged weapons cannot be used in melee. I'm going to read through this and we're going to go over again because this is the part that I'm not sure about. Okay. Attacks that are impaired, such as firing through cover or fighting while grappled, roll d4 damage regardless of weapon, which is interesting. Similarly, attacks that are enhanced by a risky stunt or helpless or vulnerable target roll d12 damage. I like flat things like that. You know, I also like games you know, and to not bring up this, the last time I'll bring up the game that I'm working on, I've taken out damage rolls and just made it flat. And I like that. And we'll talk about why later. But basically what I don't see here, and maybe I'm missing it, and you can talk me through this, I don't see to hit rolls.
There's not one. Which
is crazy to me.
It's crazy. And like, so I was
crazy.
Okay, again, I really prepped for this one because I'm very, very into this game, and I'm really excited to run it tomorrow with my little in-person group that runs at my work, actually. But Chris McDowall wanted combat to be quick, like,
holy fuck, it's fast.
It's so fast. It's crazy fast. Like, our complaints about D&D combat being this thing that you can kind of take a nap in between, you know, fuck that. Not this game, man. You're playing.
Which is crazy. We'll read through. There's an example of stuff later, which I absolutely fucking love when games do example of. Necronalis did a great one. Even here's the other thing. If Warplane didn't have one, I still wouldn't fucking understand that game. You know what I mean?
I mean, luckily it did.
And they had one. Yeah. And there's like a 2-page example spread that we'll read through a little bit later that made me go, okay, I'm not wrong. I read this correctly. And it's super helpful. So Chris McDowall, fucking good job, man. But so I'm going to read that again.
Let's talk about this. Impaired attacks, right? So you roll a D4. If they're in cover, if you were impaired in some way, you roll a D4. If they have 2 armor and you roll a 1, you did no damage to them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole concept of armor soak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that there's not, and I like how clean this is. I do like it. I don't love it because I do like the tiniest bit more crunch than that. Like that, if you say you have a fucking cannon that does like D12 damage and there's smoke in the way, you're a D4. But if you have, if you have a saber, if you have a saber that does D6 damage, it's a D4. So the spread for a little bit of smoke seems really to penalize being more powerful. For you? I don't know if it's too drastic, but this is one where I'm like, I want to play it and I want to do it once and just be like, nah, that's cool. So I'm not in love with this. I like the simplicity. The simplicity. Do I love it just reading it? No, but I'm sure when we play it, the other thing too is this all player facing?
Yeah.
No, monsters get attacks and stuff, don't they?
Monsters do get attacks. No, I don't think it's all
so then it still works the same for monsters too. So then it's still, I like it more. I more than just I like it. You know what I mean? Like I like it. Like I would send it a note. I would have a circle yes or no.
You just started a relationship and you're very infatuated, but you're not quite in love. You know?
Right, exactly. Like I said, I would send him a note in class and I would ask him to circle yes or no. Like we're not in it yet, but I'm getting there. You know what I mean? I'm asking.
So dumb.
Right.
So here's my counter to your thing, is that if my player character ever had a cannon and was shooting into smoke, they're not getting an impaired attack because the fucking cannon. What's going to impair a cannon is a wall. You know?
But what really makes a difference? I mean, can you see though? You know what I mean? And I would say that a cannon
has the explosion radius. It does a lot of damage. Like, no, not.
Kind of, but you know, in the same vein, or to counter the counter that you countered on mine.
The counterspell your counterspell.
Right. Don't you think it's actually harder to hit impaired targets with something like a cannon because it is such a small radius and it's such a big thing to move versus actually having a gun where you can maybe catch a glimpse and just let it go off quick? You know what I mean? I mean, what's the difference in aiming between a smoke and a wall? What's the difference between aiming, not hitting and not exploding? What's the difference between aiming between smoke and a wall? There's nothing, right?
Right. Effectively, yes. I can't see them either way.
Yeah. But the enhanced thing is interesting too, though. A risky stunt or helpless rolls max damage. So, which is interesting. Both ways it makes sense, and I do, like I said, I do enjoy it. I want to see it again. I'm not in love with it. I do like it. I love the simplicity of the entire system, but not having, even more so than the impaired enhanced, not having a to hit roll is gonna break my brain trying to play it. You know what I mean?
It took me a little bit. So,
geez. So once we get to the example, you guys will understand a little bit just how fast it is.
It's so fucking.
You literally just do damage. If you want to hit, sure, you hit. If you want to hit, that's it. Like literally, if you want to hit, you just hit. So,
I can't think of any other game that doesn't have a to hit.
Which, and again, I don't know if I'm in love with it. But what it does, what it immediately feels to me, is that this is not a combat game. It's not. No, it's an exploration game.
Yes.
It's a game that has combat. It is not a combat game. Like 5th edition is a combat game. When 80% of your book is combat mechanics, it's a combat game. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is not that. This is not that. That's the entire attack section right there. We got 2 pages in a 116-page book. That's it. So it's not a combat game. It's an exploration game that has combat. And this, to me, when it is, you just do the damage you do, makes combat feel more like a puzzle. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'm in love with that, because basically you have a bad guy, you find out how much armor they have, and then you figure out ways to make the HP go away. But it's not like you can't, it's not like I'll miss. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the whole thing.
I mean, personally, for me, I mean, yeah, it's just not. I'm running this as like an exploration and essentially like a like industrial capitalist game with my group. We're essentially running like horror fantasy Peaky Blinders.
Oh, that sounds fucking amazing.
It is. I'm doing okay with this one.
You know what you got to start doing with some of that shit is recording that shit, dude. Just plug in your fucking mic and hit record on it. When we started recording sessions, DK, for those that actually watch DK over on the Adventure Archive, we started streaming at episode 30 just because I had one of the most fun sessions I've ever had in my entire life. I started recording our sessions so I could go back and listen to them later and stuff. I have every episode from 4 to 29 just sitting on my computer. And it's so great to go back and listen to some of those. Like I've caught like 1 or 2 of my most like favorite tabletop role-playing games I've ever had just because I throw up like a mic when we started playing, and it's fantastic to be able to go back and listen to it. If you're playing fucking what you just said, record that shit. And first of all, I want to hear it too. So anyway. But yeah, so blast weapons cause damage to all targets in an appropriate area, rolling separately for each. If in doubt as to how many targets are affected, roll the weapon's damage die. So like it's a blast. I mean, it's hard to describe it the other way. Damage is one of the other interesting parts that's really interesting. The last 3 really, including there's a lot of games out there. These core like 5 things basically, even if you can take out blast and stuff like that, make this game stand apart from all the other ones.
Yeah. I mean, and also, you know, if you really wanted to, there's so little here. You could hack this pretty easy. You could add it to hit roll.
Oh, you could hack if you want to, but I mean, but the fact that it's D20 roll under,
roll under dex to hit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
that's it. That's literally all you'd have to do is just roll under to hit. You know what I mean? But since it's all armor soak, it doesn't really matter. But the D20 roll under, the impaired enhanced and no attack roll. And then the way that they do damage and stuff like that is really what makes this so different. Like every time I read one of these, I was just like, wow, this is different. Wow, this is different. I mean, it makes sense, but it's different. So damage, for example, when an individual takes damage, they lose that many HP, which is not hit points, it's hit protection. If they have 0 HP left, they are wounded and any remaining damage is removed from their strength score. They must then pass a strength save to avoid critical damage. Okay, I'm just going to go through. I have to read things twice a little bit, and I'm just going to go through that again. When an individual takes damage, they lose that many HP. So mine, for example, I only have 2 hit protection. That's what I rolled on a D6, is just 2 hit protection. Now, if they have 0 H, now the other thing is I have armor too.
Right.
So it has to get through. You have to get through someone's armor.
Yeah.
And then get through their hit protection before you then start going to your strength to really peel it down. So there's layers to this shit. There's layers
to this shit, my guy.
Layers. This game's an onion. So that's how that works. Damage is removed from your strength score. You pass a strength save to avoid that and or get critical damage. And with critical damage, a character takes critical damage and is unable to take further action until they are tended to by an ally and have a short rest. If they are left for an hour without being tended to, they die. Cool. Love it. Die. But so question about some of this stuff, and just reading through it again in my head. So the first time you get past the armor and the HP, you're rolling a strength save to avoid critical damage.
Right.
Okay. My question though is, and maybe it comes up again a little bit later. Now, if I save and I don't take critical damage, I just lose points in my strength, right? So then can I keep go? I can keep going. Are my HPs just gone now?
Yeah.
And every future hit.
So you have a short rest.
So once your HP is gone, every time you get hit, if it passes your armor, it hits your strength score. And if you fail any strength save, you're down and out.
And every time you lose strength points, strength saves become harder to make because your stat is getting lower. So if you had a 12 and overall you took 4 points of strength damage and you go to roll another strength save because you got hit again, you have to roll under, what did I say? So 8, you have to roll below 8. So progressively, it just gets harder to stay up over time.
That's so clean, dude.
That's so clean. Oh,
it's so clean.
I'm glad you like this because I fucking love this. I love it.
It's clean. You know what this feels like the absolute antithesis of? Fucking Warplane, dude. Like,
if Warplane was done well, this is where we're at, It's not
even done well. It's just the entire concept felt like, how can I say this without sounding like a complete douchebag? Convoluted and contrived for 2d6s. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
God,
with this,
yeah.
everything you do
for that system,
everything that you do in this makes fucking sense, because you're just like, wait a minute, let me get this right, and then you're just like, oh, that's good. You know what I mean? That's how I feel every time I read this. I'm just like, that's so clean, because when it starts to hit your strength, exactly what you just said, once it starts to hit your strength, if you succeed, the next one's harder and the next one's harder, but you didn't have to do anything. There's no crazy random math. You just took damage, you removed the damage, and that's what you now have to hit against. Like, that's so clean.
It's
so,
yeah, this is a good system. I know that you're just kind of in like with it. I am in love with this system.
I really, really like it. And there's a couple parts that still need to win me over, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, I'm not completely sold on how much I like Impaired and Enhanced. And I'm not completely sold on not having it to hit roll. But it really depends on the adventure you play in the game too. And how your referee, or whatever they call it in this game, runs it. But everything else I love, and there's other parts that I'm like, I will probably love this, but I need it. I need to see it. I need to do it. I need to show it to me. Convince me, The last thing is, sell me this pit. Fucking douchebag. Using an Arcanum, we don't support fucking the Wolf of Douche Street. Character can use an Arcanum's power as a normal action, though some Arcana ask for something in return, which again is one of those things where, like, cool, that's like literally one line, doesn't mean anything to me really. Like, I want to play, you know what I mean, and understand what this means. Because nowhere else in the game have I seen anything called a normal action. You know what I mean? Like, there are actions, but is there any other spot you've seen so far that calls something a normal action?
Well, they shouldn't have bolded normal. They should just bolded action.
Right. Okay. So that's the thing.
Yeah. What they're saying is it's just the same as an action. There is no normal action. It's just action.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So and in this thing, you can take an action and a move. So, and that action can be an attack, or it can be use of an Arcanum. Okay. Cool. Another piece of just fucking beautiful art.
I know, it's
hard to even describe this. How cool is this? It's hard to even describe this. You guys just have to.
Johan Nohr, man. You know.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I love about Merkborg, when you read the cover, is art. It says art by Johan Nohr and dead people, because a lot of it is just like not Creative Commons, but just like it's so old that anyone can use it. You know what I mean? So he does a lot of he takes like wood carvings and like tweaks it. And I love that on the cover, he cites all of those people as just dead people. So this is another piece. It's kind of like a wood carving that's definitely been done over with like tree branches and like a heart. Well, it's not even branches. It's literally like a sideways person with like a heart and kidneys and stuff branching all around it. It's just badass. Honestly, seriously, if you haven't backed this, go see if they got late pledges. I think they still do, and just fucking back this shit and get the PDF. It's fucking worth it. It's so good.
It is worth it. So
yeah. Oh, so it's, what is this? Maybe 2 more pages of rules, but honestly, it would all fit on one. So ability score loss. If a character has their strength score reduced,
it's not all on one. There's this open space. It's very easy to read. It's not very busy. Like, I very much like how this is laid out.
I don't disagree. I do like it while reading the book, but I do like for example, Merkborg we talked about, we knocked off a point in layout because sometimes it's really hard to, you have to read the book 2 or 3 times to be like, okay, this section is this section is this. It doesn't explicitly say it, but once you've read it once or twice, you're like, oh, okay, this is a specific section. It's not random. Because the first time you read through it, you're like, oh, this feels random. It's not. What I love about it is if you flip to the very back, all of the rules you need to run the game, boom, one spread. So I like this, and I do think there is a section in here, I don't remember where all of this is crunched down to like one, maybe like one spread that you can look at once, just as a reference, like a thing that you would slap on GM screen. So I love the way it's laid out. I completely agree with you, but it's also nice when you need to run the game to be able to have it all on one page, not 3 or 4. Ability score loss. If a character has their strength score reduced to 0, they are dead. If their dex or will, so that's willpower, are reduced to 0, the character is paralyzed or mentally broken, respectively, and cannot act until they have a full rest. I love that. I love that. So only strength kills you, and you only have 3 scores. So there's 3 potential outcomes for getting to 0 on all of them: dead, paralyzed, or mentally broken. Death. I like the death here. When a character dies, that player creates a new character, and the referee finds a way to have them join the group as soon as possible. Here, quickness is required over realism. Alternatively, the player may control a hireling or apprentice. I really enjoy that because in 5th edition, there's this kind of like push to have a realism, and I like that sometimes, and sometimes it's a pain in the dick.
There's a push to have realism whenever it's kind of inconvenient.
But like it's you know, I just my dude died and I need them back next session, and now I need to come up with, but they're in the middle of like the bottom of the ocean or some shit like that, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, how do I bring in somebody at the bottom of the fucking ocean, or like in the middle of a cave that's like 1,000 miles underground? Like, how does this suddenly just another dude there, you know what I mean? So it's just like, let me just shoehorn this in and everyone just and let it move on, you know? But this is literally just like, nah, fuck that.
It's better for the players because you don't have like, oh, you died, cool, well, I'll bring it back in like 30 minutes when it's convenient for me, but go ahead and sit right here and watch everyone else play this fucking game for a bit.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah. Hard pass. Deprived, I enjoy. This game feels kind of brutal at times, and I do enjoy it.
It is a little brutal.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love that brutal. Somebody deprived of a crucial need like food, water, or warmth cannot benefit from rests, which is awesome. Cool piece of art here at the bottom. Very weird. I can't even like
weird, witchy.
Weird.
Like what? Yeah,
I love it. There's a person that's a bathtub, kind of. I don't know. It's good. It fits all the rest of the art. It's good.
It does.
Points for art. Page 19. Reaction. Yeah. When the group I love this one. When the group encounters another being, the character's initiating contact must pass a willpower save to avoid an unfavorable first reaction. Some encounters are always hostile or always friendly, but all have potential to change after first contact. I love that. Like, you literally are rolling for like first impression.
Yeah. Which is a great thing that Morkborg does. And I really loved it. And that was the first time I'd ever seen that mechanic, really. And yeah, it's cool here too. It's also a little more stripped down than that one because it's just like, it's a will save. Yeah. Like, are you charismatic enough to make sure this dog doesn't want to just come at you, you know?
Yeah, I enjoy it. Morale is cool too. I know 5th edition has, anyone that reads the DMG, and I'm going to be honest, I thought DMs read the DMG. I really did. I read it. Like,
I read part of it.
Yeah, see, that's my point. Exactly. I read it fucking cover to cover. I read it multiple times. There are a lot of quote unquote like variant rules in the DMG that are good rules.
Yeah.
Like bloodied is in there, cleave is in there, like bloodied flanking is in there.
Yeah.
Like one of the other ones is morale, which I think is a great and it's done well. I do enjoy the way they did morale. It's a great thing to use that nobody uses.
Main book.
I don't disagree with you. Anyway, this is why we're reading into the ad. So groups require morale. Groups require a will save to avoid being routed when they lose half of their total numbers. Groups with a leader may use their leader's will score in place of their own. Lone combatants must pass their save when they're reduced to 0 HP. So don't forget, that's hit protection. That's not their health, because your health is your strength score. So when a lone combatant loses all of their hit protection and it starts eating into their strength, they roll a morale save. This applies to opponents and allies, but not player characters. Fleeing to safety under pursuit requires a dex save and somewhere to withdraw to. I love the mechanic, because one of the things that kills me is when people run characters or bad guys where every fight is to the death. Because I'm telling you right now, a goblin jumps out and just wants to steal what's in your pockets is not going to fight your ass to the death.
Well, almost no fight is going to be to the death. The moment, like, if you're in a group and the moment your friends start dying and you're in bad shape, you're leaving. And if you're an animal, you're running. If you are a sentient human or other creature, can you not see? Oh, that you're running like, no one fights to the death. You know,
well, and that, again, we talked about this before. No, yeah, exactly. But a lot of them will specify they fight to the death, and if it doesn't say that, they fucking run. They fucking run. You know, I love ones that run and come back with more later. You know what I mean? Because that's realistic. Like I have a book up here that I really enjoy. It's from Keith Ammon. He does The Monsters Know What They're Doing. If you play 5th edition and you want to keep playing it, buy that fucking book and read it, or just go to his blog and read it. It gives you a breakdown of basically all of the monsters and looking at their intelligence and their skill and their skills and abilities and things like that, how they would actually act, you know. But one of the we talked about this multiple times, and I'm gonna keep bringing it up. Your rules will help determine how your game is played. Like, and the fact that they didn't put morale as a main rule in 5th edition, a lot of people have this knock on 5th edition where nobody runs. I'm a DM and I give them a hard battle, but no one runs away. Why don't they run away? Because 5th edition doesn't encourage you to run away. 5th edition makes you a hero, and you're supposed to be able to do everything.
You're Superman with a sword. You're
a demigod by like 3rd level. You're fucking demigod, and you're constantly told over and over again in the game mechanics, it's balanced for you. It's balanced. Like, all your encounters are balanced. You should be able to win every encounter. It's balanced, and you're a demigod, so it's balanced. But if you put morale as a core mechanic where things will run from you, and hey, you could run too. If there was a mechanic in 5th edition that had like a morale check for you or the group or something like that, people, like, just with the mechanics of the rules, you would show them that running is an option. Because I've talked to people that literally don't even realize that running is an option. It literally doesn't even cross their mind. They just assume I'm a demigod and it's balanced, so I'm gonna win. Like, a lot of people play where there is no risk of death. You know what I mean? And if you like that, that's fine. I don't. I like, you know, Merkborg, literally every time something swings at you, you could die. And I really like that. But if 5th edition had a morale rule, more people would run, is all I'm saying. So I love games that have morale rules.
I agree.
Last couple things. Short rest is a few minutes. Oh, these are crazy. We talked about this too. A few minutes of rest, a swig of water. Basically, you're literally just a short rest. You're just taking a quick breather and then you're back at it. You recover all of your lost HP, which is really cool. Yeah. So, and again, that's hit protection. That's just your ability to take damage before losing your strength and potentially being out. And a full rest is a week of downtime. A week at a comfortable location. And this restores all ability scores. You get all your shit back, but you have to be in a nice, comfy spot for a week.
Hey, if you take serious fucking damage to your health, going to sleep for a night is not doing shit. If I slice through you and you are like in bad shape and you lay down to sleep, when you wake up, you're not going to be any fucking better, you know?
I couldn't agree more. That's one of the
magic rest healing of other game systems in D&D, Pathfinder, all those games. But like, fuck all that. Yeah.
Two of the dumbest things in 5th edition is the healing mechanic, that the fact that you can literally go from 200 to 0, you know, get brought back by a feature and go take a nap at 1 HP and wake up literally fucking completely fine, and hit dice. I'm not even going to get into hit dice.
It's so funny hearing you talk about it and the way you put it is like, Yeah, you can like take like 200 damage if you have 200 something damage, and then lay down and take a nap and wake up and you're like, yeah, I'm good to go again. It's like, yeah,
because you don't even need a full rest. You can just take an hour, roll a bunch of fucking hit dice, and be like, oh yeah, I have 15 hit dice. You know, even if I take the average, I'm now at like 100. You know, so yeah. This is better. It's better.
Hey, I fell down a flight of stairs yesterday, and then I went to bed and woke up, and that was all fixed. So
totally fine. Yeah, my neck was fucking broken. But look at me now. Look at me now, guys. So yeah, it's fucking stupid. But the other thing too is if you have a week of downtime at a comfy location, that's an adventure right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. No, and you can build industry in this game and you can work on your projects if you have a week. Yeah.
You got hobbies, dude. If I could RP my hobbies, which is RPing, I'm just like RP Inception. I'm fucking down.
Oh, dude, it's fucking meta.
It's meta. And not we don't mean Facebook either, because fuck Facebook. And I think this is the last thing on the core rules. It's bulky, just what bulky means, which is a really weird spot to put this. I would have put this after like.
I actually agree. This is one of the only things in the book. I'm like, why is this here? Why is it not way higher?
Yeah, items marked as bulky generally require 2 hands or significant storage to carry. Bulky weapons require 2 hands to wield. Anybody carrying 3 or more bulky items is reduced to 0 hit protection. So encumbrance is a bitch.
Yeah.
Like it's a bitch. And then that's it. That's literally playing the game. What is it? Like four pages with maybe like 15 lines on each page. Like you could easily put that on a page at like 14 font and have the entire thing on one page. So
that's it, y'all. Cool. Good talking to you guys. See you next week.
Yeah, that's the game. That's the game. We're on page 20. That's it. That's the game. But really, honestly, it is.
It is.
Like that's it. That's it. It's nice. It's nice. I mean, this could easily be a zine. You know what I mean? Like it easily be a zine. I have zines.
Here we go with the fucking start of some fucking cool shit. I mean, it's all pretty cool.
Yeah, the cool shit. Yeah.
So, Arcana, right? We are on page. What page is this? This is literally 20. Jesus, literally 20.
That's it.
So Arcana, powers you cannot understand. Arcana or Arcana, I say it 2 different ways, are the most sought after items in the world. Characters that are open about the arcana that they carry are targeted by collectors and charlatans. If a character's starting package contains an arcanum, roll D66 to see which one they get. So they have 36 options for starting arcana.
Is that what D66 is? 36?
Yeah, I think it's 36. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's 6 choices 6 times. That's how math works, kids.
Yeah, math. Yeah. So you want to roll?
Let's roll. Yeah. Why don't you? So it's not D66. It's 2D6. No. Yes, and then you put the 2 together. So I'll do 1 and you do 1.
Okay, cool. I got.
Are you fucking kidding me?
5-4. I have the grief cup. Anybody drinking from this cup has upsetting visions showing the consequences of their past actions. What's up?
Oh, no, I was just showing the chat that I rolled Snake Eyes.
Oh, that's okay. Snake Eyes is actually my favorite one.
Oh, good. So which one are you reading? I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
No, it's okay. I read the Grief Cup, and basically...
Which is what number? I'm sorry, what number is that? 81.
54. 5-4.
54. Amazing art. Man, we have to go back and look at some of the art between these two, though.
We will. Yeah,
okay, so Grief Cup. Yeah.
Anybody drinking from this cup has upsetting visions showing the consequences of their past actions.
If only this is real, man. A lot of people could use with a couple swigs from the Grief Cup, man.
Yeah, no, yours. Do yours. I love yours. Yours is so good.
Yeah, fuck, this is some good art. Number 11 is the Gatekeeper's Sigil. I need to start podcasting like this with my podcast voice. I'll move into this now. Create a gate between 2 flat surfaces that you can see. The gates close if you pass through or break line of sight. So it's basically portaling.
It's portaling. Yeah.
It's portaling. That's fucking badass. It's a fucking portal gun. Like it's what's the game? I never played it, but what is the game where you do like boop boop and it like to do the thing?
Portal.
Is it just called Portal? Yeah. Literally, it's just called Portal. It's Portal. It's
it's just one. It's not 2 different holes. It's one like. But
it's
you can
one
just
hole,
create
guys.
A fucking door.
Yeah.
You know what shit badass. You can break with that?
Everything.
But
again though, it breaks if you pass through it or break line of sight of it. So like you take your eyes off of it, boom, it's gone.
Right. But then you could let your friends pass through first, and then you can pass through it, and then it'll close behind you.
So that's the thing. That's the thing. It doesn't specify that it's you. It's you. It's you, which is crazy.
And,
so,
and that's how I would play it, and that's how I would let my player characters play it, because I'd be like,
dude, roll up one more. Roll up one more.
I'll roll up one more. I've got
all right.
2/6. I'm gonna scroll down. 2/6. Tyrant's Rod. Order a target to drop, flee, fall, flee, or halt unless they pass a will save.
Okay, so it's command. It's command. Yeah, that's badass. And then I got 36, which is mini. Oh, there's a weird space in here between 36 and 41. Is there always a space between the like 30s and 40s? I guess we don't know. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. So 36, mini phase key. Phase through a wall or floor with any object you are carrying. Dude, you become Kitty Pryde. Like, that's badass. There's so many of these are good.
My second favorite one, I think, from this
list. Gorger's Mask. I know we said just a couple, but the wearer can consume anything safely. You literally eat anything you want. So good.
Everything's food.
So good. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where the base mechanics of the rules can easily fit on one page, but there's so many other good things that are added to it that make this not just a random game, that just make this into the odd. This is the shit that makes it into the odd. The Arcanum makes it into the odd. Like,
and your Arcanum it's such a cool concept, because in so many games we have these magic items that like make you destroy things or buff a stat, and this one's like, no, your magic items give you weird ways to interface with the world around. You know, some of them maybe are more useful than others in certain situations, but they're all fucking weird. You know, they're all odd. You know, and they're all
because you got to get into it. You know,
I love this game, and whatever we rate this game overall is not going to be as high as it's rated in my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see. So some more. We got some more art. Yeah, sick piece of art. It's almost got like a Windows logo on it. It's a giant bubble with like a snake skeleton behind it in the sky, with a bunch of random gentlemen kind of looking at it in a pile of junk. Like, it's so good. Like, it's so good. And then I can't even, this is just an old lady, but it's got like a weird kind of like arcane, like
Astral
quasi
calendar.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then was that it for that? Yeah, and again, there's 36 of those, but then that's just the Arcanum. Then you got Greater Arcana.
We have the Greater.
Go for it. And this isn't even a roll table. I think this is but yeah, you keep on going with the magics.
These Arcana are more like your Arcana. I don't know why I say it different every time. Are more likely to be actively sought out by others. Those that are undiscovered are likely to be hidden in very deep and dangerous places or behind powerful guards. This is your loot. This is your dungeon loot. This is like, hey, you've been hired by this guy to go find this item in this dungeon because you're professionals, you know?
Yeah, this is badass, and they're really good too.
You want to just pick one and read it, because I'll do the same.
Yeah, why don't you read one first?
Cool. Window to Beyond. Summon a flying beast, strength 14, 10 HP, D8 damage to fight for you until no enemy remains. After this, you must pass a will save, or the beast turns on you. If you pass a save, it flies for freedom. Only one beast can be summoned at a time. You can summon this fucking astral horror monster to fight for you, and when it's done, it's like, do I want to fight you? Because I might.
And otherwise it just fucks off.
It's got 10 HP. It's got 8 damage. It's as strong as most player characters. Yeah,
the 10 HP. I rolled 2 HP, and that just hurts my soul. Is there like a get better section, or is that just you?
I believe there might be. Once we get through it, I'll remember it, but I'm half fogged.
So I will look at Book of Despair, because fuck.
Why would you? Well, of course you would.
Yeah. Summon a 20-foot area of tentacles that lash out and grab. Anyone within must pass a strength save to break free. The massive tentacles has 10 HP and is destroyed at 0. So it's basically Evard's Black Tentacles.
I mean, yeah. Except cooler, because Book of Despair.
Yeah, it's way cooler. It's way cooler. But yeah, and there's multiple pages of this.
There's multiple pages.
Read another one.
More.
And I'll read one more too.
I'm gonna do
because there's another section of Arcana.
Yeah, there's Legendary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one are you doing?
Black Orb. It's actually right under Window to Beyond. I think is my favorite one put together. Black Orb. Obliterate a man-sized or smaller object you touch. No living tissue can be affected, but like if there's a door in front of you, there's not.
There's not. There's literally not. It's gone. It's gone. And I'll do one more too. I'm gonna go with Withering Glove. Target must pass a strength save or shrink to a husk. They have their strength score rounding up and have all attacks impaired. A long rest restores them to full size. You literally just get reduced. Honey, I shrunk that motherfucker. It's
so cool. It's so cool. It is brutally cool, you know?
It's so cool. It's so cool.
And then this fucking amazing art that I believe is on 27, I believe is the page.
Yeah, it's like a lobster, but like a face. And still like another like kind of like line art figure drawing situation with notes on it and shit.
It reminds me of a classic European dragon face, but it is on the back of a lobster.
It's the back of a lobster.
It's got the hand reaching up from like ruins.
It's just so good. Johan, bro.
And Chris, man, both of them, they took this game and like, we're gonna beat the shell of this game. This game's gonna be fucking cool as shit.
Yeah. Seriously, they put it down. They put it down. So well, each one of these Arcanas has a tag too. Like the Greater Arcanum, I think the tag was like powers that you can barely control. Right. The Legendary Arcana tag right at the top says powers you shouldn't control. Do you want to dig into these a little bit?
These Arcana are likely to be known relics. They tend to be large objects like altars or thrones. Those that are unclaimed remain so for a reason. Only the most powerful individuals would openly admit to possessing a Legendary Arcanum, as they are desired by anyone that craves power. So they're massive, monolithic, like objects that have semi-god tier power. And I think the one that pops off the page for me first is going to be the Rebirth Coffin. A corpse is miraculously restored to life if they pass a will save. If they fail the will save, they are utterly destroyed. But you can take a corpse. It doesn't say how long it's been dead. It can be dead whatever, forever, years. And you put it in there. They just can pass a will save.
Yeah, that one's my favorite. I really, really love that one. There is Dead Oak. Creates a permanent 1 mile zone where any living thing loses D6 strength each hour, starting at the end of this hour. Living things within this zone are instantly aware of this and try to leave. Even plants wither and die. Like, it's just like, again, one of the things I said at the beginning, any of these that are unclaimed for a fucking reason.
This is unclaimed for a reason, Yeah.
And the odds of finding these, like if they're unclaimed, no one's picking it up. And if they are claimed, no one's telling you they have it because everyone's going to try to come and get it. Yeah. Like Laura Croft is after you if they know that you have this. It's just.
I'll pick one more and I'll pick one more.
Sure. Why don't you pick the other one? Yeah. You pick
Seal of Madness. Creates symbols on an object. Anyone trying to decode them loses D12 will. So it's literally a seal that you create. If anyone tries to even figure out what it says, it just drives them fucking insane.
It's badass.
And remember what happens if you have 0 will. You are like mentally like
your mind is broken. Yeah.
Mind's broken until a week-long rest.
So Black Hole Collider. Create a 5-foot black sphere. Anything entering it is utterly destroyed. Cannot be moved or placed on top of an object or opponent. So it's literally just like a big sphere that can't be moved. And it says you can't move it onto people, but you can move people onto it. You know what I'm saying? Fear of annihilation is what it is what it is. So the example of play, I think we really need to read through this. What's after this though? Does it immediately then get into, because this is like 4 or 5 pages long.
I think after this is then after the expedition, which is your leveling up and stuff. And what you can do.
Yeah, so we'll do that and the experience levels. And then oh gosh, no, there's enterprise. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff that we can still dig through. And then, I mean, and it's already 10:15. So we got about another like 40 minutes on this, and then maybe left 35 minutes, and then we got to hit the review on this, because I don't think there's enough for a second week. But and we don't even need to go through the entire example of play, but I think the combat section is really important. Or we can read as much as you want from this. So 3 player characters and their hireling, a lighter boy, which is the cheapest hireling, are deep in the underground. Let's get into the space. So basically there's a giant door and there's these characters, and they're just basically trying to figure out how to get in the door. They axe the door down, but they roll a luck save so that nothing hears them. And then they enter a room. And then when they enter the room, the referee says, it's a spectacular room, 30 feet high and equally wide. Its walls are an intricate mosaic, but the tiles are constantly shifting color. Wave patterns wash across the walls, and in the center of the floor is a 6-foot wide shaft. And then how do you want to read this?
Did we not talk about luck saves yet?
They didn't bring up luck.
Where is luck? Why did we not talk about luck? Luck's what you roll if you can't figure out what else to roll, by the way. I don't know how we missed luck.
It might be in the very beginning when it talked about the 3 stats you have, and then there's like 3 alternate stats or something like that.
It is in the very beginning. We did. I'm now realizing that we skimmed over. I'm so sorry, y'all. Luck is like a thing you can have as a referee. You can have your players roll if there's nothing really else to that you feel like fits. So we're at Ezekiel, sketching down the room on his rough map. So it's a dead end, but the walls might be worth investigating. I'm being very careful not to touch them and tell my lighter boy to do the same. You want me to read all that? You read the referee?
Sure. If you want to read the players, and again, we can just get to the part where the stuff happens without having to go through all of this. But you can touch on this.
Stuff happens, you know.
Yeah. So basically, you know, the walls mosaics are constantly changing, and eventually, at one point, someone touches it and realizes that the wall is warm, but not enough to burn them. So he actually places his hand against the tiles, and then the referee says, as soon as Uthred's hand touches the wall, the shifting colors stop. A pulsing blue pattern starts to radiate from around Uthred's hand. And the tiles are warm, but you don't feel any other effect, no head explosion or anything. But as soon as, and then there's other stuff, again, we're paraphrasing. As soon as you remove your hand from the wall, it starts to shift colors again, and you now see the tiled shape of a person. It's your reflection. Barely a second later, the room is filled with a crackling noise, and the tiled visage of Uthred somehow steps out of the wall, hefting the axe from its back and taking up a combat stance. This is one of my favorite things that I've always wanted to run. It's basically a mirror room, and when you see yourself in the mirror, your reflection comes out and you have to fight yourself. I love that.
I've definitely run that.
Well, my take on that, real quick aside, is whatever your alignment, quote unquote. So if you're good guys, you enter this room and the opposite of you steps out. So if you're evil, a good you steps out. If you're good and evil, you steps out. And then it's exactly you. So I'm playing your character while you play your character. And I go as hard as I can. And if my evil character beats you, when you leave this room, you're the evil version of you until you complete a long rest. And if you're evil...
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then if you're evil, you're a good guy until you complete your next long rest. So, yeah.
Quick aside to our aside. I did this with my player characters once, and the group that I used to have when I was living like further west in Texas, where I am right now. And I beat the shit out of them because they just like, I'm like, bro, you're not using any of your character class options. Like, what's wrong with you? You've been playing this game for 6 months. Come on, get with it.
Yeah. So basically, when you touch a mosaic wall, the tiles literally come out as a copy of you. And what's cool is, so this is actually getting into combat. So let's actually talk about the combat role. So, you know, one of the characters says, I'll just be referee if you want to be all the characters. But it says, nobody else touched the wall. Sorry, I'll read that. And then I'll leap at the copy of Uthred with my daggers. So the referee says, roll for damage. Boom.
Roll a D8. I rolled a D8. It's a 4.
Yep. So, okay, you dodge past the tiled being and stab it in the side. Instead of a scream, the copy of Uthred roars out in a crackling static noise. It's still standing.
I'll have at it with my axe, trying to drive it away from Ezekiel and the lantern bearer.
Okay, roll for damage.
I have 5.
Yeah, so he rolls d6, scoring 5, and it is 5. So referee sees the target is now at 0 hit protection, takes the remaining 2 damage from its strength. So basically, there must have only been 3 left on its hit protection, and the 5 rolled over the hit protection onto the strength, so remove strength. You kick the thing back, knocking it off balance and bearing your axe in its side. It shouts out in static fuzz, rolls a strength save, succeeding, so it continues to fight.
There's only room for 1 Uthred here.
The copy of Uthred drops its axe on the ground and reaches forward to try and grab Toku. Toku, give me a strength save.
Rolls a strength save. I got a 20, which is a fucking crit failure in this system.
It's a crit failure. So over the groans of the table, the creature grabs Toku and slams him against the wall. You see a blue pulsing pattern form on its surface, and a moment later, the colors shift into his shape, and a copy of Toku steps forward from the wall. That's such a good use of the bad guy that's almost dying. Make another bad guy. So good.
Oh, that's crazy good. It's a fantastic. So...
yeah. So that was combat. That was beating a bad guy. You're not to hit. You're not doing anything. You're literally like, okay, I want to damage him. Cool. You do damage. Like you did. Good job. It's so fast.
It's really, really pretty fast. And I think the one thing,
fast.
Like as a game master that you'll have to pay attention to since it is so fast is being careful not to kill your people. I mean, or not, whatever, but like, really easy to kill someone here because there's no to hit. Your monster is going to hit. So if you put them up against a monster, like I for this, I'm definitely going to roll. I'm going to run the pre-built dungeon first because I don't want to make my own thing, not being totally familiar with how this actually plays. I only have like my familiar and fucking kill my people because that's something I would do, you know?
Yeah. Well, so I'm less worried about killing the people, and this continues on and on, but that's basically what we wanted you guys to hear is just how fast combat was. But I'm less worried about killing the people and more worried about making sure that it's fun and interesting because of how fast people can kill these things.
Right.
You know, because you have if it's one bad guy, you know, you have 3 good guys hitting them before they can even get a turn realistically. So it's going to be really hard to balance, you know, since you know. I guess not as hard to balance because you know how many hits are going to get in before you know, if you have 3 players, you can literally know exactly how much damage they're going to do if they all hit.
Yeah.
And you can see if this thing is still standing or not. So that's literally how fast it is with no to hit rolls. It's crazy. But the interesting thing about that too is then you got to have multi-level combat. You know, if you continue to read through that adventure section, basically the things keep attacking and some other big shit shows up and it gets to the point where the players just bounce. Yeah. And that's a really interesting way to do that, is to, you know, again, where I felt like combat feels kind of almost more like puzzle-ish a little bit in this system. That's what it comes down to is you can create a scenario where you force your characters to run if you really want to. And that's totally fine. I don't see an issue with that. If they stick around and they want to fight, sure, they might pull it out. But, you know, again, not all scenarios. Again, especially in rules light, you know, kind of OSR, maybe not part of OSR, but who gear more towards those base OSR rules, running is an option that you should take very often.
Yeah, that's very true.
So do you want to get into after the expedition?
Absolutely. These next couple sections are, I mean, I've loved this whole book, but I really enjoy this next couple sections. After the expedition, most often the goal of an expedition is to find valuable treasure or powerful arcana in a mysterious environment. A successful expedition is simply one that returns to safety with something to show for it. This could be a lost artifact, a terrible secret, or just a good story. So if you go for a piece of treasure and you don't get it, that's not necessarily a failure. You can make it a success in a different way. Experience levels. When a character has completed the listed requirements, and there are requirements for leveling, they move to the next experience level. Each time they advance a level, they gain D6 HP. So your hit protection goes up. They roll a D20 for each of their ability scores. If the roll is higher than the ability score, it is increased by 1. So actually, it's the only thing that's roll over in this. And that's good because the higher your ability score gets, the harder it gets for you to upgrade it.
Which is great.
Which is great. It makes a lot of sense.
So I'm gonna roll this real quick. I rolled a 4 on my d6, so my HP goes from 2 to 6, which is really helpful. And then I get to roll. It's just a d20 for each. And was I supposed to roll a d20 in the beginning, or was it? It was 3d6, and now it's a d20. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a 12 on my strength, and I roll a 16, so I go to 13.
Yeah.
Yep. I have a 10 on my dex, and I rolled a 5, so I don't go up. And then I have a 14 on my will, and I rolled a 14.
That roll higher.
I don't go up. That sucks. So all I got was a lot more hit protection, which is fantastic, but only 1 more point in strength. That's interesting. That's interesting that you could really like maybe get a little better and but oftentimes not really.
Sorry, dog. Cool. Reputation. As they advance through experience levels, characters may be treated differently by the people they encounter. And that'll make a lot of sense when we go through what the experience levels are. Because it's like a profession thing. This is your job you're doing. Experience levels. Novice. A brand new character. You were ready to go on an expedition. Their first expedition, you were brand new.
So brand new character is a novice.
Yes. The one you created when you started this book is your novice character. Professional. You have survived at least 1 expedition. That means after your first expedition, you immediately get to do that level, to that level up sequence that we just went through.
Nice.
Expert. You have survived at least 3 dangerous expeditions since reaching professional level.
It's really exponential.
Yes, it is. But I think it's exponential in different ways too as we go. Veteran. You have survived at least 5 dangerous expeditions since reaching the expert level, and you've taken on an apprentice. Master. You have an apprentice of at least expert level because your apprentices do level up and have survived a dangerous expedition with them since reaching the veteran level.
Fuck. I mean, if you do a campaign all the way to these 6 levels, you're playing a lot of this game.
You are playing a lot of this game.
Yeah.
And then beyond. Even when reaching master level, a character may have great ambitions. This could be a desire for a legacy, immortality, or cosmic transcendence.
Lich, bitch. Well, you lich.
Yeah. No, I want to become a demigod and transcend to the next level of existence.
Oh, so just play 5th edition.
Right.
Get to 15th level. Anyway, so real quick, adding it all up.
Get to 10th level.
Okay, yeah, right? 5th, to be honest, demigods. So anyway, so adding it all up, bare minimum number of adventures, not counting the extra stuff like apprentice getting to expert. You got your initial one, but to be a professional. Then you have to do at least 3 more to be an expert. Then you have to do at least 5 more to be a veteran. And have survived a dangerous expedition with them since reaching veteran. Then you have to have your apprentice get to expert, which means you have to do at least 4 more.
And they have to survive.
And they have to survive. So you're at minimum, it looks, minimum looks like at least 13 expeditions to get to master.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because they don't have to be one-shots, but they could. You can do 13 one-shots, 13 weeks, 3 months for a campaign before you get to beyond and then keep going. I mean, that's badass. I like systems that don't have, because honestly, how many campaigns have you run 1 to 20?
I've never run a campaign 1 to 20.
0. Absolutely 0. No one does. But this, you could easily start as a novice and get to beyond. You could easily do that on this. Not necessarily easily, but you absolutely could.
The expedition. Like, that's not about the businesses you can create on the side. You have weeks of downtime. And as you're going to see below, there's other options for what you can do with your money and downtime.
Dude, the art,
right?
The art, cool. Man. It's so good. It's so good. So, keep going with the Enterprise and War, baby.
Enterprise and War. Sorry, I'm not watching our stream at the same time. It's just slightly lagged, so I try not to jump ahead in the pages. Enterprise and War. Between expeditions, you can try your hand at business enterprise, or you can muster an organized military force. Detachments and enterprises cost 10 guilders to establish. Detachments demand a further D6 guilder in upkeep each month. So it's a month. It's a good amount of time. or they will revolt. Income. New enterprises generate D4 Gilder of income each month. They also face a threat that causes D4 Gilder in losses until dealt with. If an enterprise cannot pay its debt, it collapses. So you can start a business, have an issue to deal with, and that's a whole other adventure. You got a rival, because I'm doing the Peaky Blinders thing. Like, you have a whole rival gang, or you're trying to cut into some industry, some industry's trying to cut into yours. You gotta deal with those fuckers, I'm gonna gather me and my boys. We're gonna go down there and crack some skulls. So very cool. Growth. If an enterprise makes a profit, its income moves up to the next die. So it goes from D4 to D6 to a maximum of D12. However, this larger die also applies to the losses as well.
Right.
So a lot of cool there.
Dude, it's just shit. It's just so well done to just be like it self-balances. You know what I mean? Yes. And I really, really like that. I really, really like that.
Apprentices. At any point, you may decide to take on an apprentice, take a willing non-player character, or roll them up as a new, and advance them through experience levels as normal under your guidance. So you almost get a second player character to a degree, and that's really cool. And it's a lot of fun. And if your main character dies, you have your apprentice who could live on in your stead, Well,
what's interesting about that too is it really helps with smaller parties.
Yeah, it really does.
You don't need to have 6 people. You don't even need to have 4 people. Like, you could play this game. Honestly, you could play this game with 2 people. Okay. You could have a GM and a player with an apprentice, or you could have just 2 people and either have 1 with an apprentice or 2 with an apprentice, and you'd basically have 4 players with only a GM and with 3 people, including the GM. You could run a 4-player campaign based on having apprentices and stuff. And I really, really like that that's built into the game, not as somebody made a YouTube channel and got really famous talking about 5th edition and made their own book so that you could have hirelings in a really interesting way. You know what I mean?
It's in the Dungeon Master's Guide as an alternative rule that the player characters have never fucking seen.
And 90% of DMs have never read.
Do you know what's funny? Actually, another aside is my Dungeon Master Guide is fucking yours. It's from when you went to Ireland and you gave me all those books. I never even fucking bought it until I got yours. So shout out.
You have my original DMG?
I have your original DMG, yeah.
Nice. I'm glad. So I
read it. So part of it.
Good. Well, that part of it. Okay. Anyway, keep going.
So battles. Detachments attack against individuals as enhanced. Detachments are not harmed by individual attacks unless they are explosives or suitably large scale. Makes sense. It's a whole group of people that you hire and would make up for. If you shoot a gun at a whole group of people, it's not going to do much to them. Risky gambits may require a will save from the leader. You're the leader. Casualties. When a detachment takes critical damage, because they are statted, they are broken and cannot act until rallied. At strength 0, the detachment is wiped out. When half the force is broken, the remaining detachment must pass a will save or be routed. HP and ability scores are recovered with short and long rest, just as they are with individuals. So it's just an individual character that works different.
It's a whole fucking group of people, but it's got a similar stat. Like, basically, it's just like group combat using the regular mechanics. It's just a tweak. Yeah.
Improvements. Equipping a detachment costs 20 times the individual item cost. Detachment starts with D6 HP and advances in experience levels just as individuals do. So, hey, listen, if you want them all to have those fancy weapons, it's going to cost you over 6 times the fucking fancy weapons cost you. Or, sorry, 20 times whatever the fancy weapons cost you.
30 silver, 30 shillings or whatever. So you're talking about, how much did you say? 20 times?
20 times. Yeah. I guess they're saying is you have 20 individuals, more or less. That's
600 shillings to outfit. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ships and structures. These ignore attacks weaker than the cannon and are destroyed, straight destroyed at 0 HP. So the only thing in the game that is destroyed at 0 HP is going to be physical things like a ship or a structure, and that makes sense because it's a structure.
It doesn't have strength score to lose. Yeah.
Recovering HP takes a day of repairs. Also makes sense. Sample leaders. Urine spinner of the Black Star group. The strength is 8, 13 HP, 5 Gilder. She has a revolutionary. He or she has a revolutionary detachment. They have 7 HP and they are armed with muskets. They own an underground distillery, which has D4 Gilder income. And then they also own a smuggling ring, which has D6 Gilder income.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is a player character with their, the Black Star group, I guess is their overall their business. And that's just like a good example. There's no one right below, but read it yourself. Yeah. There, we gave one example. It was good information.
And there's cost to ships and structures. Cannon being 2 Gilder, an ironclad, which is like the biggest battleship, being 2,000 Gilder. Crazy. There's a whole section on refereeing here. I don't know really how much we need to dig into this. But just, a lot of it is the same thing. Like if you've never played a game, the little part on like new to RPGs is great. If you've never, refereed or GM'd or DM'd or whatever a game, for those that get into games like this and don't understand why people say like referee or game master and things like that, D&D copyright the term dungeon master. It's a copyrighted term. You can't use it. So you'll never see dungeon master written anywhere outside of D&D.
Fun fact, they did not copyright DM. So as long as you imply that DM means something other than dungeon master, you can use that.
Yeah. Well, they can't, you know what I mean?
I'm a dookie monster, bro. I'm a DM.
I'm a dookie monster, bro. Get that dookie. So same. It's like a cookie monster, but it's a dookie monster. You're not a monster made of dookie. You just want the dookie. Anyway, fuck, that should be edited out. We'll cut the dookie in post. So basically, give information, present choices, show the impact. And that's it. That's the whole section. And then another beautiful piece of art. It's hard to even describe this. You just really need to get the PDF or come watch it on the VOD. It's really, really good. And understanding ability scores and saves and things like that. We don't really need to get into that a whole lot. Basically, it explains what strength, dex, and will saves mean. Avoiding harm. Yeah, avoiding harm throughout these different things. And then luck rolls, damage, turn length. It's kind of just like the also, you know what I mean? Like this is a section. Luck roll. Sometimes you'll want an element of randomness without rolling a save, particularly in situations dictated by luck or those that fall outside of the 3 ability scores. So these situations, roll a d6. A high roll favors the players and a low roll means bad luck for the players. So basically what Hunter said earlier, if it doesn't fall into anything, just fucking do that if you want a little bit of chaos,
Yeah.
It talks about falling damage and stuff like that. Non-combat ranges between D4 and D12, D20 used only in special cases, and just basically be conscious of it. Poison usually causes ability score loss, effects like blindness, impair attacks, which is a thing. And then turn length. A turn is long enough for a character to move and carry out a single action, just like every other RPG ever. You get quote unquote 6 seconds. That's what you get. Another just beautiful piece of art. Again, it's hard to not talk about the art in this.
Yeah, it's like this pseudo like geometry, like almost kind of sacred geometry, not quite, like geometry figures over like weird fucking non-Euclidean art or whatever. Like it's bizarro. It's great. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's really good. We got how much? What other sections do we have to go through realistically? We got about 10 minutes, so we can go through like any other section that you want to go through this, and then
I think that all that's this the treasure, the obstacles, tricks, and hazard gives you good ideas and good context when you're running the world or game. I think we've gone over like the deepest stuff, and since we were wrapping up at about 20, we can probably skip them. I'd like to go down. to the Pendium. I don't want to go through the there is like 10 pre-built dungeons in this.
Yeah. Well, one of the things before that is I want to look at a monster, if you don't mind. Oh, just to see how a monster lays out.
And there's actually an important aspect to monsters as well. And go read through a monster and we'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll just start with the first one. It's just a dust hag. So it lays out a lot of... Bro. Yeah, Dusty Hag. So strength 8, dex 13, will 11, 13 HP. So it's laid out just like a player character. It gives a motivation, driven to protect herself and manipulate others. It gives attacks with claws, able to turn to dust at will. Physical attacks are impaired, and water-based attacks are enhanced against her, not the ones that she makes. Right. And water-based because she's fucking dust. Conjures a veil of dust around her when in danger, momentarily blinding all who fail a dex save. She has a dust staff. Gray dust starts to envelop the target. At the start of their turn, they must pass a will save or lose d6 will. This is repeated each turn until the target passes their save. So fuck, you could get broken with that. And the eye, a floating eye that you can direct and see through. Destroying the eye causes the wielder of the eye to lose d6 will. I guess there's no... My only question with this is it says attacks with claws. So I assume that would be an unarmed attack. Is that what you would
yeah,
just D4 damage? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because there's nothing here that says like, their attack is this much. But I guess if you look at Strange Hunter, they have weapons. They have a weapon, so it says D12, and then he carries a strange blade, which is a D8. So if it's not unarmed, I do wish it said claws D4 for like unarmed.
Yeah. So I think.
But this is a Strange Hunter.
I'm a Strange Hunter.
That's what I said.
Actually, I would like to go back up to Dust Hag and point something out to you real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, she has 2 magic items. That's a dust staff and an eye. So if you kill her...
I said that. Yeah. You get those. Oh, yeah, you get those. Yeah, because the game, just like a lot of old school games, is loot-based.
It's a loot-based game.
So you literally can get these items, You know what? Every time we read a game like this, you know what I want to play so bad?
What?
Necropolis, man. Oh, we got to get back into some Necropolis, dude. So good.
Up,
I don't think it's on Steam, though. I don't think it's on Steam. So you wanted to get to the Odd Pendium? Is that what you said?
There's just some cool options in there that I really like. And I think that if you wanted to... just so everyone knows, below the Monster Manual, there's a big section about the world. And it's like really very cool. And it gives you a lot of context of different places that you might come across in the world of Bastion.
Now, I guess my question is, with this much time left and a lot left to go over, do you want to just go through the rest of this next week? Or do you want to just...
There's enough. Okay. I don't think there's not enough. I mean, we might as well...
Not without digging into the adventures. I do think that there's not enough.
Yeah. So there are these awesome tables, like places you can go after the Overgrown Shrine, which is Hex 24, which is not even all the hexes. You have these really cool places like that talk about other places. Hopeson, the last port of the north. I'm on page. Oh, it's not numbered at this point, huh? You went too far.
Oh, I got all the way down to the Odd Pendium.
Point being, you got these places you might come across, people you might meet in those places, arrivals from Bastion in those places. Although that ties back into that hex crawl. Using the Oppendium. As a referee, you're constantly expected to think on your feet. The section is a toolbox. It's roll tables. They're roll table toolboxes, and there's some really cool ones out there. Let's go down.
I mean, even some of the councils, like borough council decisions, literally, like roll a 9, all prisoners are released. I mean, general public reaction, like from riots to, well, it's about time. I mean, this is such a random and it's the Odd Pendium. It's just a bunch of weird shit. Like Bastion's cast of that. It's just people's names. There's a random D100 namer, and then with another,
Oh, yeah, and then you can say whatever happened to them. Like, you can create these people like, whatever happened to them? It's like, oh, yeah, they lost everything, or they were lost at sea. It's these great tools that I just love.
It's so good.
What's the street like? Oh, point of interest, there's a fighting din, and the atmosphere, well, it's a little sinister. Is there a link to the underground in the area you're in?
D100 for a yes or no question right there. D100 for a yes or no question. like crazy.
Yeah, there's a tunnel at the bottom of the river, so good luck getting to it. I mean, if you have
just to shoot straight down, just to shoot straight down to the underground, you know.
Yeah.
So
good luck getting back up, but yeah, you can jump in this shit. You'll slide down.
Go for it. Yeah. Quickest route across town. Oh my god, dude! It's just the most random fucking shit.
Bastion's greatest businesses.
Yeah.
Frupp's brick and mortar.
Schumann boots and tonics. Yeah.
You can plan. I might make my whole adventure off of this for tomorrow because I
literally could. I mean, D100 twists.
Cults.
Yeah. I mean, it's so good. I love the Astro cults. Let's see. We got the Council. D100 Collective is just called the Council, and the description is golden. The Golden Council.
The Golden Council.
Yeah.
Or the Council of Gold. You know.
Yeah. What's beyond the darkness? Oh.
Yeah. What's that island? You know.
Yeah. An ancient barrow that has a questioning brain. Ooh.
I didn't realize this one. I haven't read this one. It's below the island. It's I eat the stuff, and it's a D100. I'm gonna roll on it real quick. That's that.
What's that island? Yeah. I eat the stuff. Oh my god.
71 for I eat the stuff. 71 invigorating. Gain 1d6 strength for D6 hours.
I want to roll one of these bad boys. I got 27. Hot. Breathe fire. D10 at whoever is right in front of you. That's awesome.
Fucking god. Is this thing arcane?
Note, smelling the stuff gives a clue to its effect. You gotta sniff stuff, guys. That's how you really get your treasure. Yeah. Okay, it's awesome. After
this, my actual favorite part's coming up.
The alternative character groups?
Yes. If you want to use other aspects of Bastionlands, whatever you want to call it, you have other starts you can do. You have mutants from the underground, because there is the underground under Bastion, and it's weird and dark and potentially Lovecraftian. Advancement's a little bit different for them too. You can also roll for the whole group's mutations, or individual mutations. You have simple folk that come from the country. They start with a little bit more strength.
That country boys.
Yeah, they start with more strength and dex and less will because they're dumber. Which, hell yeah. And then you have Inhumans, which is fucking your fantasy creatures. The entire city of Starfall.
Unhumans.
Oh, Unhuman. I'm sorry. The entire city of Starfall was stolen away by a roaring light almost a century ago. With rumors of its returns, Unhumans have been spotted arriving in Bastion. Lots of people don't believe in the story. You aren't even sure yourself. Roll D100 once for the whole group. So you're gonna roll, and you can be elves. You can be
31. Wait. Oh no, it's just the D20. Why does it say roll D100?
Oh, that's
it's a D20.
Error.
Is it it says roll D100, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It only goes to D20. Yeah. So I got a 20. Twice your normal size, D6 plus 14 strength, D10 dex. Weapons specially made for you are bumped up to the next size die. Hand weapons cause D8, field cause D10. That's badass. Yeah, I really like that. And then there's whole things about unhuman starter packs and what do humans think of your people.
But also if you go through that table, it literally has dwarves, it has elves, without calling them that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it has aliens.
So, yeah, I mean, I like that. I mean, it really brings the setting book that he did, Bastionlands, into the game. But again, all of this stuff is add-on to like the mechanics. Like we dug through the mechanics, and all this stuff just makes Bastionland and into the odd.
And that's it.
And that's the game.
Yeah, we did skip over the setting stuff that's actually in this book. So if you want to go through, it's not as in depth as Electric Bastionlands, which I still suggest you like. If you play this and want to get into this, you should still read that one because it's a good setup.
But I mean, that's also good too, because guess what? I mean, go buy this shit and spend money and support Chris McDowall.
Yeah, Chris McDowall, this guy creates good shit. He's also really likable, you know?
Yeah.
Very British.
So that's where we at, son. So this is a part of the This is the part of the podcast where we will rate and review this book. I mean, we've read more of this book than we got through on here. I think I don't even know if we would call this a deep dive. Then this will probably just be a read through.
Yeah, it's probably a read through.
Yeah, read through from Into the Odd, which again is good. I don't want to show every single page on stream. This book is still available to go late pledge this shit. So go fucking late pledge this shit.
Yeah, go late pledge.
So all right. Going into this, and again, for those, eventually I'm going to post on our Instagram how we rate these, but we rate these games in five topics, five criterion. Art and style is one, layout and function is one, rule set and crunch is one, originality is one, and price is one. And we'll kind of explain those a little bit more as we go. So art and style is basically, it's not just, it's a lot of aspects of art. Is there art? Is there good art? Does the book have a coherent theme to it as far as the art goes? And is the art utilized well? Because games like Lancer got kind of poor scores in art because the art's great, but there's a lot of pages that have a bunch of blank white space. Yeah, a lot of pages have a bunch of blank white space. One of the things that is good about 5th edition, I think, is the art. There is no blank space on a page. And realistically, however much you want to be oh, it's about the rules, the human brain needs pretty pictures. I mean,
it also sets the pace for tone, Yeah. It lets you know what the tone is.
Yeah. So art and style on this. First of all, the art is fucking beautiful. Just plain. If you just pull the art out, it's fucking awesome.
There's also a lot of it,
man. There's a lot of it. I guess one of my knocks is there's also a lot of empty white space on a lot of pages.
But that is a stylistic decision.
I agree for the most part.
Chris McDowall said that is a stylistic decision. I want these pages to be clippable, readable, and easy on the eyes to understand. It was it is 100% a style decision. And then we didn't go through the dungeons. I know you don't want to, just in case I run something for you, which I probably will. But the dungeons are art. They are art.
Oh,
all of it.
I did at least scroll through to look at what it looked like, and they're dense. They're dense. Yeah. They're dense. So what are you thinking then for art and style for this?
I'm thinking a 4.
Yeah, I'm thinking 4 too. Again, I think the only thing that knocks it from a 5 to a 4 for me is a game like Merkborg, where it's art punk. You know what I mean? The art of the game, the art of the way it was done is in the book's design itself. I
mean, actually, with that argument, I would consider giving it a 5, because Merkborg, that was a conscious decision to do that, and this is a conscious decision to not do that, which is a style decision.
It is a style decision, but I think for me at least, when it's not saying that, I mean, I guess 5 is better than 4, but it's also specifically just in the art style, because there are some people that won't like that either, that want a little bit less. So I think 4 is a great. I think 4 is. I think 4 is great for it.
In my heart,
I think 4 is. Yeah. Again, I think the art and everything is freaking beautiful, and it's amazing. Again, it's not even necessarily a knock to an extent. A lot of this stuff is fluid-ish. You know what I mean? Again, 5 to me is basically an art book, and this is a book that's got great art that's well done. You know what I mean? So now I think your argument makes a lot more sense in this section, actually, the layout and function section. So stylistic choice, sure, but specifically about the art and how much art is utilized and stuff like that, I think your argument that the pages that are clippable and a lot of space and very easily to read, to me, is more of a layout and function thing.
Yeah, and that's a really good argument. For me, for layout and function for this one, I'm not going to give it a 5 because it's not hyperlinked, and honestly, that is a qualifier for a 5. I will say that it's a 4 for me. This works really well. It's very understandable, very readable. The layout's nice. It's you read it, it's easy on the eyes, and your eyes are drawn to what you need to be paying attention to, Yeah,
I guess. But my question is, if 3 is normal, is anything about the layout specifically different than any other book?
Yeah, the pages are less busy. I mean, even in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a lot on pages. It's hard for you to be hey, your starting equipment is under this. And I've been with people no, it's not there. I'm it is there. There's just a lot going on. And this is no, we didn't put a lot on the pages, so you never have to question what's on the page. You know what's on the page. And that is above normal. So
yeah, I agree. And yeah, if this was hyperlinked, it would be a 5.
Totally. It's not.
I don't think we will ever come across a better PDF than Troika. At the end of the day, a better laid out really PDF than Troika.
It is very nice.
Every paragraph has even like, I can say go to 6.2. You know what I mean? And not only can you go to 6.2 easy, you can just click a thing at the top, hit index, and then go to chapter 6 and then go to 6.2. Like, we're never going to beat that. So 4 for this, I completely agree. And I think you make a really good argument that the fact that the pages aren't so busy makes the function a lot better, more than just an average book. So I completely agree with you. We're going to give a 4 with that. The next we get into rule set and crunch. So to explain rule set and crunch a little bit, this does not mean less rule set is better than more rule set or anything like that. It's kind of again, a lot of the stuff is like nuanced and can change a little bit. And we might even, after we've done like 10 or 15 of these, right, go back and look at one and maybe tweak a little bit based on other ones that we've learned from. So rule set and crunch is really, is it the appropriate amount of crunch for the game, right? Because you can have a really crunchy game if it makes sense for the game. And rule set is, do we just like the fucking rule set, right? Like Warplan was rules light, and we just didn't like the rule set.
We just didn't like it. I just didn't like it.
Just didn't like it. So
it was the most confusing rules light game I've ever read.
Seriously, I still don't like it. And the more I think about it, the less I like it. So rule set and crunch for me, I personally, I really like the rule set. There's nothing in it that I'm like, I just don't like that part. Like, I don't think there's anything.
No, there's nothing.
I think more of it was like, I love all of this, and there's a couple parts that I'm not sure whether I love yet or not. That's it.
Right.
But I still like it.
What did we give Merkborg?
I think a 4.
What did you give Merkborg? Because that was pre-Hunter. I
think it was a 4 because maybe it was a 5 and I gave layout and function a 4. For me personally, I don't know, because in these two parts, I like the rule set, and I think it's an exactly correct amount of crunch for the style of game that it's trying to portray. Again, there are a couple things that I'm not sure of right now, and I don't have problems going back later and being like, no, this is good. I'm a 4 on this.
It's a 5 for me, but I am a little in love, and I think a 4 is a reasonable score for this. You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah. Whatever we graded last had a 2. I think that was Warpland.
That was Warplands.
Yeah.
We should have given that bitch a 1, honestly.
Seriously. Okay, so originality.
Oh, I adore this game. I adore the feel of it. I know we didn't dig too deep into either Electric Bastionlands or like about the world. But the world is, aside from the rules, now we're talking more of like the whole thing together with the setting and everything. The setting is great. It's this really fun, and it is referential to like this like industrial era, turn of the century, like England, but also with this like deep level of unknowable, almost cosmic like magic and land that is just, there's so much. I would also give this a 4.
Okay, that's what I had already had there. I don't disagree with that by any stretch of the imagination. I think it does. But are there other games that do have aspects of this across the board? Of course, there's Cthulhian stuff. There is steampunky stuff. But I think the mix and stuff like that sets it apart. And I think it doesn't feel like an amalgamation. It doesn't feel like I wanted this. The only part that's like maybe a little bit like, it's like the underground maybe feels a little tacked on.
Yes. That's the only part.
Because honestly, you could just do the underground as its own, like, I would almost say the underground should be its own like expansion or set like thing that you add on. Because like, for example, a game like Spire has an underground really evil part called Heart, but it almost feels like a separate game, and they put it as 2 separate books and things like that, so that you can run it. You can run underground campaigns or you can run regular campaigns. And I feel like the underground part of this could have been, Electric. And again, I haven't really dug deep into Electric Bastionland. Maybe the underground makes much more sense when you get Electric Bastionland versus like, separate.
I think it's a little more fleshed out for sure.
So yeah, I personally, I'm just repeating what we already said. I think for originality, it's a great 4. It's a solid 4. And 4 is a great score. Anytime we give something a 5, it is what we're going to hold up as an example for future games, in my opinion.
So that's why I asked what we gave Morkborg, because I was like,
that's why Merkborg is going to be a 5, because realistically the art is part of the game and the book, and Troika as the best laid out like PDF I've ever seen in my life is going to be a 5. I don't know if we've given a rule set and crunch for 5. Honestly, if I gave Merkborg a 5 on rule set and crunch, I would probably drop it to a 4 now.
I would take it. It's probably a 4 for me too.
Yeah, so. Not that it's not great, but there are just a couple things where I'm like, okay, now price wise, we have to look at this as just
$36
realistically
for a hardcover book and PDF.
And that's the Kickstarter backed cost, right? Or is that now like the pre-order cost? Yeah, 28 pounds. You said $36.
That was the Kickstarter. I don't know about the pre-order back cost. So,
the late pledge cost. I don't even know if there are late pledges. But anyway, so yeah, $36 plus shipping from England. And again, it depends on if there's a big distributor for this, because I bet you. Like if Amazon got a bunch of these, it'd be a lot cheaper in America, because they would basically do like American prices versus buying a British book right now with the pound being. I don't understand after Brexit how the pound is stronger than the dollar. I don't I guess global like macroeconomics don't really make sense to me. I know that their inflation and a lot of their shit is like fucked right now. So maybe the cost increase is. It can't be like tariff costs though, because it's literally dollar for dollar conversion. I have no idea. So long story short, book in PDF is $36 plus shipping. So at the end of the day, it's probably going to cost you about $45.
Hardback full color book. Yeah,
with shipping and everything, probably about $45. Yeah. Which to me is an average cost. I mean, you get a lot for it. So again, price is not just how much it costs flat out. It's how much you get for what you paid for.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I know half of this book is adventures. Half of this book is adventures.
It is. Half of the book is adventures. That is true. It's not just a rule book. There's a 24 hex crawl, and there are so many dungeons. I said 10. There might be a couple more. And one of the dungeons is a shifting dungeon that comes with another page that gives you options on what shifts in the dungeon every time you go to it.
Well, not only that. So, and we have to look at the cost of a PDF, which ends up being probably about what, like $18, something like that for just the PDF. So the cost of getting the book on top of, if you just got the PDF, it'd be like, I think an average PDF is about $15, and that's roughly what this is versus like the pound or whatever. An average PDF is about $15, and then this ends up being like $30 to get the book. So basically the book, if you get the book and PDF together, costs the same as a PDF does. So it's not a bad cost, and you get a lot of content. I mean, you get all the rules you need to run the game, and you get a shit ton of adventures and stuff.
I mean, there might be enough adventures to take you up to essentially almost being at the master.
It's a possibility. And again, for people that didn't back this on Kickstarter, it's probably going to be a little bit more expensive later. But you also get, are all of these things in here already? Is Echoes of the Iron Coral already in there? Yes. Like additional content?
Echoes of the Iron Coral is the shifting.
Mist of the Fallen Marsh. So like a lot of the stuff that got backed by Kickstarter, the book is done. Like it's basically done and ready to go. Yeah. So
actually, man, I'm going to give this a 4. This is a 4 for me.
Yeah.
There's so much in this book. You know?
It's dense. It's dense. I don't disagree with that at all. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4 as well. So this is solid 4s across the board. So it's a 20. So
we rolled a nat 20, y'all. Congratulations. We rolled a nat 20.
Yeah. So Into the Odd, and this is the pre-release. You know, before we ever get the book in our hands, this is just the PDF that came out that you get as part of the back of rewards. If there's still a way, honestly, to get this, fucking do it. And if there isn't a way to get it, wait till the rewards all go out and this gets put out. It's so good.
It's so good. I'm really excited to play this. I have 2 groups queued up to play this. My one regular and then one that's like a group of parents. So we'll see how that goes. But weeks of downtime, so they can text me what they're doing, you know?
Yeah. So this is definitely a game I want to play. It's a game I want to play. This is really the style of game that I want to play anymore. I'm done, and I'm not going to harp on it again. I'm over 5e for a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest ones is it's just too it's too rules. It's got too many fucking rules that restrict what you can do. No matter how many times they say, do whatever you want, make up the rules as you go. That's not good game design, and I don't enjoy that. These games that are so free and weird and just let you do whatever the fuck you want to do, not only let you, but encourage you to do that. It's just better game design and better games. And this is a perfect example. This is a perfect example of how to do one really, really well. And then get someone like Johan Nohr to come in with the graphic design and art and make it fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great. Like 20 out of 25. I mean, is one of the higher scores we have yet. And honestly, we should sit down and go through a couple of the early ones before we post all of our scores. At some point, we're going to catch up on getting all these out on podcast, and then I also am trying to work on the Instagram, and we'll post all of these scores on our Instagram page so you can see what we rated them, and I'll post a little bit about why we rated them like that. But yeah, and for those listening in the podcast, as we begin to wrap up here, we are now available on Spotify. We are available on Stitcher, on Google Podcast, and especially Apple Podcast. So a lot of people know that Apple Podcast is definitely one of the ways that you can really get your podcast spread, and the best way to do that is to drop 5 stars. So if you are listening to this and you enjoyed our fucking rambling and want to continue to listen to it, if you guys could drop 5 stars on the Apple Podcast or rate. Yeah, rate them on any of the sites that do have ratings. It would definitely help with pushing us up and helping with our discoverability. So if you want to keep hearing, these deep dives or read-throughs of these new games and our, probably terrible opinions on them.
We're dumb as fuck.
Yeah. And honestly, we've played a lot of tabletop games, but I know there are a million more people with way more experience than me. When I hear the depth of knowledge that Sarsa has, it makes me feel like a fucking idiot. And one of the things is up until basically 2021, 5th edition was my go-to hardcore, like, this is what I want, and maybe I'll be interested in something else. And now it's just like I want to do.
In 2019, I abandoned it for the Cypher system, which is much more easy going on rules. And it was my big shift. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And now how I do everything is I jump 110%. So not only are we shifting away, we start a fucking podcast to talk about it. But it's also a way to talk to one of my best friends in the entire world and to actually read all of the books that I bought. Because anyone that is only listening to me on podcasts and hasn't watched the VOD, my bookshelf is full of books, and I've read half of them. So this is a good way to get into those. So if you are listening, rating us. Yeah, giving us 5-star review, giving us would be incredibly helpful for us to help us with our discoverability, to help us keep going with this podcast. So, that's about what we got for Into the Odd today, right?
Yeah, that's it. Farewell, podcast land. We love you.
Yeah, we do indeed love you. So thank you so much. And what the fuck are we doing next week, bro?
We will announce it later because I don't know yet. I have a couple ideas and I don't know. So,
well, what are you thinking right now? What are your thoughts?
What are you thinking? I picked this one. You picked the next one.
Oh yeah, that's true. You did pick this one.
We could do an Adam Voss. We could do Acid Mages. We could do we could do a couple small ones.
we there's also, I mean, so at the beginning of December, the reason I shaved and grew back a mustache, I know y'all in podcast land don't see this. Our whole group did to do Movember. So we're gonna do a charity stream for Movember. It's not just a thing about shaving your mustache. It's actually an organization that supports prostate cancer awareness and support. So we're going to do that, which means we're also going to do breast cancer in I think February or March, I think is when the breast cancer awareness is. So we'll have one of our lady DMs come on and do something for breast cancer awareness and do a charity for that as well. So we can always do one of the things. We're going to run Casket Lands for that.
Oh, so let's do Casket Lands.
Do you want to do Casket Lands next week? I played it already. I really, really like it. It's powered by the Apocalypse.
Through it, and I hear really good things. Yeah. Let's do Casket Lands.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a relatively short game. It's powered by the Apocalypse, but it's got a lot of density to it. So yeah, so why don't we go ahead and do Casket Lands, and then that'll be a nice precursor to when we do Casket Lands at the beginning of December for our one-shot charity stream. Cool. All right. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Hunter, for doing this with me every week. It's really great to be able to, I don't want to say reconnect. We've always been friends, but there's, when you move the fuck to Texas, it's a little harder to keep in contact. But with this Texas. Now,
you're also
but I'm not there, motherfucker. But it's so much fun, and now we get to talk so much more, and it's a great time, and I really, really enjoy that. So thank you for being part of this with me. Thing.
My girlfriend's also very happy that we're talking all the time. She's like, I'm glad you have your best friend back. I'm like, yeah, me too.
Good. Yeah, the same. And you know my wife and everything. So, but yeah, so thank you again to everybody out there listening. Catch us on twitch.tv/The Adventure Archive every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, like 10 p.m.
10 a.m.
Texas
Central.
Time. Yeah, 10 Central. And you will hear us continue with these probably terrible opinions. If you do enjoy tabletop role-playing games at the Adventure Archive, we also do some currently running an evil campaign on Wednesdays called The Dark Kingdoms. We're currently running Mycelium Madness on Mondays, which is another 5th edition campaign. And on our YouTube, you will find multiple arcs of, I think we're at four or five arcs now, of Merkborg, which is really fun with our DM Jason.
Who gets that deep into Merkborg? God damn it,
dude! It's great, and we only have more and more to go. I think we're going to be running actually the LP adventure next. We're going to do an aside arc and actually run Putrescent Regnant. So that'll be really fun. So we have like a 10-minute goodbye here. So we're actually just going to call it. Just check us out again. If you drop those ratings on the podcast, it really helps us a lot. And thank you so much for listening to us. So Hunter, have a good one, and everyone out there, have a wonderful day.
Farewell.